Happy Friday, SMITE fans, and welcome to day number 3 of the SMITE Summer Masters event, brought to us by our good friends over at Prime Gaming. If you haven't already, make sure you pick up yourself a Prime membership because you get free music, movies, and more. All the great stuff that you were probably already going to buy, you can get delivered straight to your doorstep. You don't have to worry about going outside and going in and dealing with all these other people. And then you can link that over to your Twitch account. That way you can make the most of Prime Gaming because you get another free item, a Twitch Prime subscription to your favorite streamer. You also get free games, and a couple of the free games this month, Beasts of Maravilla Island and Recompile and Scourgebringer, are on the list. And then you can also use Amazon Luna, which is another thing that comes along with that one. And you can get Garfield Kart, probably one of the best games ever made. So if you've ever wanted to play Garfield Kart, or if you haven't and you want to relive the experience, make sure that you are using your Prime Gaming membership. Thank you so much to Prime for being the sponsor of Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League. Like I said, it's day 3 of SMITE Summer Masters. It's me, J-Mac, and I got Goremizer joining me to kick off our day. It is Elimination Friday, Gore. One team from every single one of our sets is going to be going home today. And unfortunately for a lot of them, it is the SCC teams, as every single one of them dropped 0-2 to the SPL teams in our previous days of play.
Yeah, so at this point, it's going to be a fun. I think every matchup is in AEU, so there's a lot of fun, I think, at least in that. We'll get to see who gets to go forward, but like you said, unfortunately for some people, this is the end of the road, right? The end of the day, 4 teams are going to be gone from Masters. By the end of Sunday, the other 4 will have been eliminated. Then we'll move into next week with just the top 8.
Yeah, just going to be top 8 going into week number 2. That'll move into a bracket style of play, but we still got to get through all of the group play. If you missed out on days 1 and 2, it was SPL, whatever seed the SPL team was versus a respective SCC level squad at the very end. It was all 2-0s for the SPL teams that led us now to have a full elimination Friday of nothing but the SCC squads. And as Gore highlighted, it's NA versus EU for every single one of those matchups, whether that be the number 1 NA versus the number 4 EU or so on and so forth, which is actually what we're going to be seeing a look at now. The schedule, or at least the bracket for our very first matchup, Eldritch Hounds, who fell 0-2 to the Valkyries, and the Gilded Gladiators fell 0-2 to the Camelot Kings. Those two will now be facing off your number 1 NA team in the Hounds versus the number 4 Gilded Gladiators, respectfully. And this is really where the fun kind of comes in, because it's been a while since we've had like that true kind of NA versus EU style of like actual tournament play. And now we're getting 4 of those today to see which of the regions is going to come out on top, Gore.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch, I think, not only for highlighting, like you said, the different regions, but also being able to showcase, if there's like a kind of a method to the madness, if you will, right? Like, we always talk about it, North America likes to get scrappy early. Sometimes that means fighting over things that admittedly don't necessarily matter and maybe taking fights that'd be better not to. And sometimes it means, making big plays right around an FG and being able to win the game from it. Europe typically farms a little bit longer. To the point where, stylization-wise, think like Season 7 Phase 1 Dragons versus this current iteration of the Kings, right? Those are the two like styles of play you can kind of expect from both sides. That being said, it's also really interesting. I think that these teams have been bringing some eclectic picks that we're not used to seeing in the SPL, so I think it gives a lot of flavor to what these drafts will look like.
Yeah, I think a lot of these matchups will be very fun to watch, especially those ones between some of those number 2 and 3 seeds in their respective regions out there. So keep your eyes throughout the entirety of today. But to start the day out, is going to be the Gilded Gladiators and the Eldritch Hounds in our first grouping of play. These are the guys who had to face off against the Valkyries and the Kings, the number 1 and 8 from the SPL, and, well, it's a 2-0 either way. The Gilded Gladiators are a team, Gore, when I think back to this Gilded Gladiators team as a whole, I'm thinking back to the SPL qualifiers when they were under the Just F6 moniker.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was a team that kind of got a little ran at in their very first set of play, and then they came back and went, oh, I see how these guys like to play. I see how North America likes to kind of scrap and whatnot.
Yeah.
It was a team that was really able to adapt kind of on the fly. It took them a game to get there, but then they made those adaptations. They started running their way through the lower bracket during that tournament and really started making a name for themselves. But all the adjustments they've been making to their team since that time has kind of given a new identity to this team, especially with Itori jumping in for the Hunter role.
That's the thing that I'm kind of curious about. Like last time we saw resilience, bounce back, really good turnaround capability. You lose, set 1, get knocked to the loser's bracket, and then make a pretty impressive run through the bottom. How much of that what was in, Rotwin when they played for him? How much of that is replaced now that you've got Itori, who, as mentioned yesterday, is playing out of role as a sub? Like there's a lot of extra layers to this pick, which makes it even more impressive to me, that Itori looked as good as they did yesterday. I think that this team as a whole was able to be, I want to say, a little more surprising just in general for what they were able to bring. But as a whole, I think that this, specifically as Itori has brought a new flavor to that side of the map, been able to help them out. Of course, I think it helps, like, if you're looking for a sub right now, I feel like carry might be one of the easiest ones to try and swap in, just because it's like, not even like a thing with the role or like the gods played there, as much as it is like, hey man, we're gonna shove you in dual lane, just like as long as like the bare minimum, don't die early on and like just farm for a while, then join the team fights. And I think Itori takes that and takes it to the next level, is able to come in, play really well, and I think hold on to their own, and fits well with the squad, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a player that's, you don't have to throw a new shot caller or anything like that. It's just kind of that, hey, just kind of stick to that lane a little bit there. And talking about the Gilded Gladiators, we do have a pregame interview. I believe it's Dime standing by with the Gilded Gladiators for our pregame interview.
Howdy, folks. Dimes here with the Gilded Gladiators, and let's go to Itori first, the ADC. I gotta ask, the Gilded Gladiators, y'all kind of took it to the Kings there for a while. Unfortunately, did fall to the 2-0. What have you learned from that first set here at SMITE Summers Masters, and how have you adapted on today's Do or Die challenge?
And yesterday was my first time ever playing at LAN, so it was a bit of nerves, but I mean, they're all gone now. Second day. We learned lots from the King set. Learned that, we kind of got it. We're not that bad. We're pretty good. So, do gotta take it easy sometimes. Take the foot off the gas pedal, and then should be fine. Should be
so maybe a little more of a confident Gilded Gladiators today. Let's move on over to the support Dazer. Maybe a little more awake this morning than you were yesterday.
Definitely more awake.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I just mentioned, it's Elimination Day, do or die. Does that add any more pressure to this set, or is it just your game plan as per usual?
I think it doesn't add any more pressure, really. I mean, we're coming here to have some fun with the boys. If we win, we win. At the end of the day, we're going to win, though.
A confident Gilded Gladiators ready to take it to them. That's all we got from here. They're ready to play. Let's get into game as soon as possible.
Yeah, thank you so much. Some confidence out of Dazer in the support role. And getting to talk to him yesterday, just a fun group of guys in general in the Gilded Gladiators. Always really energetic, making sure that they're ready to kind of get there and jump into the battleground. Getting over a little bit of their nerves, as Itori mentioned, his first time playing in a LAN setting and having at least a decent performance. And it's not easy when your first LAN game is against the #1 SPL team in the Camelot Kings, and you're going against some of the best players in the world out there. So at least able to stand up there. Now going to be going up against the Eldritch Hounds, though, Gormizer. Definitely not the Camelot Kings.
One first seed for another first seed.
Yeah,
though.
you go from #1 SPL to #1 NA, and these guys are used to playing against their EU counterparts like Hex Mambo, Niflheim Wargs, Highland Ravens, some of those top teams out there for EU. But NA is a completely different beast. I mean, we talk about the stylization differences of these two teams, of these two regions. North America really likes to gas pedal early, and this is a team just in general, at least over with the Eldritch Hounds, that really does embody that. A lot of that able to be helped pioneer through the 2v2 pressure that this team gets between Oathhh and EruptCrimson. Crimson over in that mid lane has had a very impressive year as far as his KDA is concerned. Phase 1, what was it, like a total of like 6 or 8 deaths for like the entirety of the phase. This is not a player that you ever want to forget about when you're going into a matchup, because he will make sure that you never forget his name.
And like just looking at the KDA here, like the 7.5, the way that I look at Crimson and the way that Crimson plays, I think is just good, right? Like to the point where if you're looking at next top mid laners that you'll probably see in the SPL, Crimson should probably be on that list, right? He's in the top 3 guaranteed no matter what. And so I think that there's something that, something to that, along with the way that it was playing. Of course, I think it's funny, like, unfortunate for them, this game, right, had a couple of good Cuckoo ults. Benny Q had a couple of better Cuckoo ults, which is just a little unfortunate for them. But like you said, when you play through the phase, it was like for the longest time in phase 1 was at like a ridiculous like 40-something, because he had died once in 4 weeks of play. And then the last week of play, they decided to have some fun because they were guaranteed first, and that's when his KDA tanked down into like the 15s. Oh no. It's like, it's just insane to see, how well, I want to say damaging, how many kills you can get, how safe you can play, while still maintaining such impressive numbers, right? And I think that that's partially the team, right? Like you said, having people like Quig around you or Remakami around you creates a lot of space, and then having players like Oathhh by your side really allow you to find that damage, be the mid laner, and I think kind of coalesce into one of the strongest players on the team.
And the Eldritch Hounds, when we look back and we say they were undefeated in phase number 2, they were also undefeated in phase 1. In phase 2, they dropped 2 total games throughout the entirety of their 5 sets. It was 1 to the Tanuki and 1 to the Weavers, who, funny enough, are the 2 teams that didn't make it to this tournament at all for the NASCC. So what does that then say about the other 4 teams or the other 3 teams who were 2-0'd by this squad out here? Eldritch Hounds have been a force to reckon with in the NA region for the entirety of this season, even back when we look at Phase 3 in Season 8 when they were known as Sleekness at that time. A couple of change-ups in their roster from then until now have made this such a dangerous team. And being able to at least go toe-to-toe with some of their former SCC squads in the Valhalla Valkyries, we got to see kind of where that difference lies, at least from them then versus them now. But let's see how the Eldritch Hounds can handle against the Gilded Gladiators, because as I said earlier, this is a team for this EU region that really does adapt quickly to the meta changes and the styles of play of their opponents.
Yeah, that's the thing I think I'm excited to see is watching what the Hounds are going to bring out, because I think this is a team that, kind of as you highlighted, for the most part, this phase 1, just kind of played their game, right? Like they didn't really adapt to the other team. They just played what they knew was going to work well, and as such, only lost 2 games. If they play at that level and what we expect, then I think it's going to be a hard game for the Gladiators. But like you said, first one, maybe you take a hard-fought loss. I think the Gladiators did a good job yesterday kind of pushing the length of the game. And so maybe this one goes not their way. Maybe it goes their way. Either way, I think Game 2, they're going to adapt incredibly well. And I think they're also going to adapt to what's been played just these last 2 days. I think they're going to be able to look at, okay, so here's what the SBL teams were playing. Here's what the Hounds played. Here's what we need to ban from the Hounds. Here's what we need to pick for ourselves. And here's how we can draft just to level that up. Because for a lot of these teams, even if you've been scrimming a lot lately and things like that, you still haven't gotten to play competitive for the SCC for like 6 weeks. So this is, I think, a big chance for them to step up.
And with the picks and bans starting up for game number 1, the first ones to roll themselves out, Eset, Lancelot, and Kepri. On the opposite side, the Hounds will ban away Set, Dodgy, and Kabrakan. So some focus on MastkiII, the jungler, for the Gilded Gladiators. That Set game that he had up against the Camelot Kings is part of the reason why that game ended up going so long up against them, as the Camelot Kings took a while before they were able to actually deal with the jungler of the Gilded Gladiators. So the Hounds putting some respect there. But that's going to leave open Cupid, who has been a top pick hunter. You saw it there, 10 games played so far out of the 16 that he's been available. And 7 of those 10 have been a win. And on the opposite side, the King Arthur going to be locked in very early for the solo lane of the Hounds.
Yeah, and honestly, I really like this Cupid pickup, because it feels like, and the King Arthur to an extent, because a lot of the games that we've been watching, the conversation has been like, okay, guys, what is this draft? Like, what are you guys doing? What's going on here? You're letting the SPL teams get King Arthurs, your Yamojas, or Capris, or your Cupids, things like that. Like, you're just giving them like the top meta picks in the SPL, and then picking, and admittedly for some of them, like weird things like a Chalk Jungle, things like that. So I like that the Gladiators are going, all right, let's come into this. Let's ban a couple things we know they're good at, ban a couple things we don't want to play against. First pick the Cupid, and while I think King Arthur Yamoja is an incredible 2 to get for the Hounds, I think it starts you off on the right foot. Fields of Love is a very phenomenal, not only team fight ability, but we saw it yesterday in some one-on-ones, 1v1s, where things really got the upper hand because of it. And I think that, plus like the Heart Bomb, his healing, all of that gives him an extra edge.
Baba Yaga, which has been pretty much a staple only in the EU region so far, has not been able to find any success in an individual game as of yet, but we'll have to see if the Gilded Gladiators can maybe turn that one around in game number 1. Coupling the Baba Yaga Bologna to round out the top 3 of the Gladiators. Eldritch Hounds still have one more pick available to themselves. They've already drafted their primary frontline with Yamoja and King Arthur. And before jumping into the bans, if no jungler is picked up, I gotta imagine a lot of assassin, maybe some warrior bans be thrown that way between both these 2 teams. Eldritch Hounds definitely taking some time to do so. And with a King Arthur and a Yamoja, already I'm looking at Yamoja and going, okay, you're going to need something to be able to get away from the wall, something to jump over them maybe for your hunter, some kind of support that can maybe be able to get out of there. There aren't many supports that can do that at that point. So kind of which one, maybe a pick your poison style of battle.
Makes them mayhem.
Discordia going to be the option for Crimson in the mid lane. We've been seeing the popularity of this god as well.
And speaking on the specifically the wall conversation there for Yamoja, Cupid's gonna have a rough time. if River's Rebuke is up, Cupid's gonna struggle. Luckily, River's Rebuke has a 140-second cooldown, which means that you can pop a shell and have it back around there. So even if you go for support, like you said, not a lot of them have that survivability to leap over a wall. If you go for something that doesn't, and Xingqian, one of the few that does, if you have like a Ymir on your team, or I know he's banned, but like Khepri, any of those examples where it's like, hey, you're just kind of grounded in here, Phantom Shell seems like it's going to be a very easy pickup because it's not just helping you at that point. If it was you, that's kind of selfish. But because you've got a Cupid on your squad as well, yeah, you're going to be helping at least somebody. Then you can also maybe help a Baba Yaga not have to use her Cauldron to disengage from just the wall and maybe save that for a better time to disengage, or depending on how the fight's going, re-engage. And so that's something that I hope to see from the Gladiators.
And as the bans roll through, previously mentioned, Xingqian taken away, Nemesis as well by the Hounds, so a little bit of focus in the jungle. But with the Hounds not having a dual lane just yet, it'll be Chernobog and Chiron eating a ban for the Eldritch Hounds, those ones banned away by the Gilded Gladiators. So, now where will Dude Man Bro go as far as his Hunter picks are concerned? Still quite a few open. You can go towards some of that ability focus if you want to maybe throw AMC or Ullr over in that lane. Notably, those two still available in that regard. Neath as well. Or still plenty of other auto attack centric gods to be thrown into the wings. Eldritch Hounds, though, with one pick after the second wave of bans. And they're also still missing their jungler. So with the Nemesis ban out there, I'm maybe a little surprised that they took that one away when they could have just grabbed it for themselves right here.
Could have grabbed it for themselves, like you said. And it might be one of those things because, like you said, they banned out Cabrakan, which is like support / jungle / solo / mid.
Dang, we just need to carry Cabrakan. We've hit all 5 roles.
You know what?
Like
if Finneq was still in the duo lane, that'd be something that could happen. This is what I was going to say. I wouldn't be surprised if they go for their Hunter pick. I'm not surprised to see Chernobog banned by the Gladiators. I think he's been very high priority. I'm surprised Chiron was where they went, though, because Artemis has been like, if you're locking in Cupid, most of the time afterward, the other team's probably playing Artemis. And maybe that's going to shift up again. It depends on the player on the other side. But I think that the Hounds have gone for a good draft so far. And to the point where it's not surprising to see, if you cover that Baba Yaga up and replace it with something else that's been maybe more prominent in the mid lane, most of this seems like an SBL draft, right? Especially from the Hounds. King Arthur, Yamoja, Discordia, the Artemis specifically into the Cupid feels like it's a dream come true.
And now where will the Gilded Gladiators go with their final 2 picks? Jungle and support, the one still missing out. Pele has become a very popular pick in the jungle as of recent. The additional glyphs to the Magi's cloak has really seemed to kind of bring this god back into the forefront. Maybe some of the other buffs along with her items as well. Support with Xingqian gone. Baron was not the one that I was thinking. I mean, we rewind maybe like 6 weeks ago, Gore. Baron Zombie at the top of the topic.
Maybe a little longer. A little longer than that.
We're still seeing a little bit out of like PBM, I think, occasionally out there. But yeah, I mean, we rewind maybe even all the way back to like the previous Masters. Yeah, Baron, 100%.
Oh, yeah,
this
100%.
is like, God, you threw in either solo or support.
Beginning of phase 2, he was like present. He was hanging around for a little bit.
He existed a little bit.
Trying to linger on as long as possible. And then, yeah, like you said, he just kind of disappeared. And honestly, I think it's a little bit of a mix, right? He still has a lot of good team play, and when you throw him over into this matchup specifically as a support, it's going to be pretty helpful in the sense that he's got good CC, he's got some healing, he's got control over that lane, and I think it's going to be nice against the Emoja in terms of clear, alongside a Cupid who just got a clear buff, so like they might get out pressured early on. But the downside is the same thing that it's always been when you play like a Nox support or now any mage support. Yes, you will eventually get tanky, but the time that it takes you to get tanky is about as long as it takes for you're going to be squishy for 10, 12 minutes before you get those items. If this Osiris is paying any attention over there, if there's a lot of rotations, it could just end up being something that the Hounds rack up kills on.
Now, I wonder with this Baron, because with the changes to Lonos Mask, obviously, or maybe for those who haven't been keeping up entirely, Lonos Mask now taken away from being a normal item to being a starter item with the Protector's Mask and then Lonos Mask upgrade after. I wonder if we're going to see that start from the Baron Somni in the support role, or if we're going to be seeing kind of this healer support style of build that PBM and Genetics have kind of picked up a lot, where they're running Benevolence, Mail of Renewal, Meditation. So I'm curious as to where the Baron build will go with this. But for the Gilded Gladiators, their team fight's kind of all over the place. I mean, they've got good AoE control with the Cupid. They've got good AoE denial with Baba Yaga. But as far as peel and anything like that goes, they're kind of lacking in it, Gore. I mean, where is their avenue up against the Eldritch Hounds to be able to find a win in these team fights?
So immediately I'm thinking, like you said, like Engage is Bologna and the Baron. It's going to be either a Life of the Party or an Eagles Rally. That's what gets them in. Fields of Love, like you said, is very solid. Baba Yaga just does damage. Peel is going to come in. It has to be Relics at this point, right? I mean, you've got a little bit of CC elsewhere throughout this, but like Pele's going to be diving deep. Cupid, Baba have a dash out, so if you can get things like a shell, if you can get things that are going to keep your team alive and prolong it to the point where, you know, we've seen it more in conjunction with like Discordias than we have anybody else, but like even Meditations have been on the rise lately. Things that just keep your team prolonged in the fight, give them the chance or potentially the cooldown to get that dash, get that leap away, then that's going to buy them that time. Otherwise, they're disengaged, like you said, it's going to be difficult, right? Because you've got Yamoja walls, you've got Artemis traps, which might not seem like too much, but that with a Tusky, with a Strife, with King Arthur pulling somebody up into the air, it feels like there's a lot, and that's ignoring like Tether and Lord of the Afterlife being able to jump after you. So like I think that the Hounds have really good engage, they've got good follow-up, they've got a lot of strengths.
We'll see. Is it going to be the number 4 EUSCC to take game 1? Is it going to be the number 1 NASCC? We're going to throw that one over to Dimes and Mifflin for game number 1.
Hey, thanks, gents. It's do or die time. Elimination Day is here, and we have a Gilded Gladiators that did not bend before the Camelot Kings, taking on the number 1 NA-seeded Eldritch Hounds. We're going to have tight games all day long, and this is the first one that I think can pop off. We got Dimes, we got Miffy, baby. We got Doug spectating this one for you.
Excuse me?
What's up?
What's my name?
Miffy, baby. Hey.
You're not even from. You're more southern than me. What are you doing?
Yeah, Missouri, baby. That's how we talk in St. Louis.
Understood.
Miffy, baby. We got 2 teams coming. All right. Gilded Gladiators, Eldritch Hounds here. Miff, I think this one can go the distance all 3 games, and we're just kicking off the day.
Yeah, this one I think is going to be pretty indicative of the pace. This first match, that is. The Eldritch Hounds, a standard North American squad with a much more standard composition, can really, really establish pace, specifically around Oathhh in the jungle. I think this Osiris should likely outpace MastkiII and has some pretty decent targets. Itori, SMITE, Dazer certainly, very susceptible to some of those slows. The Gilded Gladiators, on the other hand, have got themselves an eclectic composition. Maybe the main strength being, when's the last time the Eldritch Hounds had to play against a Baba Yaga? When's the last time they had to deal with something like a Baron Somni in the support? Maybe catching them off guard is the strategy that the Order side has brought.
As J-Mac mentioned, shades of not too long ago, right, where we saw Eset and Baron picked up almost exclusively in that support role, now coming back. This Baba Yaga as well has jumped out to me. We've seen it played, I believe this is the 3rd or 4th time in just a couple days of SMITE play. Is this indicative of this Summer Masters land meta forming? You know, sort of a micro meta forms around every single land where this Baba Yaga's come back? Or is that just the European style of SMITE that's coming over here during the land time?
Well, to answer your question, I think you could just evaluate who's been playing it.
Right.
The European SCC guys, and that's just about it.
Right.
I mean, it's a good deal of damage. I've been impressed by the damage output. 40,000 from SMITE in previous sets, 60,000 at times as well. So whether or not it's good, still up in the air. If it gets a dub, I'll join the good column, but until then, I'm thinking it's just for the DPS. And in a team composition like this from the Gilded Gladiators that is already lacking severely in initiation, lacking severely in just AoE CC, SMITE's not bringing a whole lot of that, unless he's getting hyper lucky, right? Like, you can get a cripple field every now and then, maybe a slight slow, but it's not a stun.
Yeah, Oathhh and Remakami want to make something happen here. Pre-3 minutes. MastkiII, though, luckily has that little extra speed provided by Pele, as well as the speed buff wrapped around their belt. lestimics move in on this duo side right lane for the Eldritch Hounds, able to force them back out of that blue buff there. EruptCrimson falls very low in the middle lane here to sap on this Baba Yaga. There's that damage coming out that you were just alluding to. No surprise there. Might be more of a priority pickup as time goes on, as people realize, I mean, this Baba Yaga has never fallen off, right? I think the meta just moves away from this Baba Yaga, but the damage is always there. The escapability is there, right? Home Sweet Home provides a lot of safety with that CC immunity. But I do want to ask you, Miff, about this matchup. They were talking about it on the desk, this Cupid and this Artemis in the duo lane. A pretty even matchup there in terms of you drop the Fields of Love, you get the CC immunity from the board, things like that. Walk me through this duo lane, especially with this Baron pickup.
Man, Artemis was one of the OG counter matchups into Cupid. You don't even necessarily need to trade ult for ult. Vengeful Assault, the second ability from Artemis, the attack speed stim, also gives you movement speed and slow immunity. I'll just walk out. Good luck catching me in a Fields of Love in a 1v1. You're going to be really reliant, I think, as Itori, on Dazer. You need those roots, you need those pull-ins, those life of the parties to set up for your Fields of Love. Otherwise, I mean, you're probably not getting a whole lot of value in that trade. Maybe you could use it as self-disengage. More so, I would expect Dude Man Bro to be the aggressor in this matchup, especially once supports rotate out. Then, once he's using Vengeful Assault to run you down, once the Caledonian Boars drop to run you down, that's where you can start to find the value from Fields of Love. Otherwise, Itori is going to have a very hard time being the aggressor.
As we're hitting level 5 here around the map, just the duo lane for both of these squads, not quite hitting that pivotal moment here. Got Lord of the Afterlife online for Oathhh, same thing, ultimate available to this Pele in the jungle as well. Where is this initial pressure going to come from? Is it going to be Dazer hitting level 5? And the question is answered for me here as Dazer immediately goes into that life of the party, yanks in Dude Man Bro, who burns those beads to escape. So ultimate for beads is always a trade you're happy to make, as MastkiII is looking for Oathhh.
Oathhh in some trouble, able to walk himself out of there, but maybe just baits forward. MastkiII forced to ultimate defensively, but that should spell the end of the engagement. Worried about Zap, though. He stepped up.
Zap's got that golden apple on him. The disorientation is there. Oathhh doesn't connect with the Lord of the Afterlife. Home sweet home out from the Baba Yaga, 2v1ing, and doing so successfully. Zap caught in a great strife there.
Yikes.
Over the top, Oathhh just escaping with a sliver of HP as Sap just nearly picks up first blood, and the jungler Oathhh escapes by the skin of their teeth there, but now MastkiII under pressure.
And he steps up a bit too far. Crimson, credit for first blood. The Eldritch Hounds off to a roaring start. Gotta have my heart go out to Sap7 there. If that's the Y-shaped first ability, he's got first blood. Unfortunately, he got an L and was also just handed an L.
Took an L from the L, and that's that randomness from Baba Yaga coming out. You always talk about one of the reasons Giannis isn't picked up is because of the unconfirmable damage, right? And you have to use the portal's initiation. The vortexes are kind of weird. Same thing with the ultimate. Baba Yaga having those differently shaped abilities, right? And you can't really choose. It's kind of just thrust upon you. Makes it a little less confirmable as well. Are you surprised at all by the aggressiveness from the Eldritch Hounds? Because I'm not, right? 5-0 in a squad, like to get in your face, starting off early here, looking for that initiation onto the mid laner. They do pick up first blood, so I guess it works out.
Yeah, I mean, the Eldritch Hounds, I think, are very used to paces like this, but it's actually the Gilded Gladiators in that exchange that had chose the aggression for themselves. Again, MastkiII stepping forward, narrowly avoids the strife. Could have cost him greatly with 3 Hounds nearby.
Grabbing the Scorpion for themselves is the Hounds here. MastkiII blinks in aggressively. Oathhh forced to Lord of the Afterlife over the wall, which means there's no ultimate to escape that life of the party. Dazer yanks in the jungle, and MastkiII takes out their opponent.
Sap7 still playing on tower line. This is aggressive play, man. This Baba Yaga has refused to play anywhere except for where you see her right now. Both the Eldritch Hounds and the Gilded Gladiators trying to throw their weight around early. I'd argue that the Eldritch Hounds don't necessarily need to be this aggressive. They've got a much more standard composition, which I've got a lot more data on in late game 5-on-5 engagements. We've been talking all this time about how hard it's going to be for the Gilded Gladiators to really start up these fights once it is 5-on-5. So surprised to see the Eldritch Hounds really pushing for these fights early on, but maybe not so surprised just by nature of their composition. You got a Mannequin Scepter jungle. Doesn't matter that it's an Osiris, but it isn't an Osiris, so he's probably going to be running it down just about whenever he can. Otherwise, the Gilded Gladiators, I've been impressed by their adaptation, and that's been the narrative around this team this entire week. They come in, day one, they play that standard European slower style, and then day two, if it doesn't work out, they're getting aggressive with the best of them.
Caledonian Board doesn't connect on Itori here. Quig is wrapped around, does connect with the Moonstrike, but Dude Man Bro is way down the lane, so no shot there. Cupid able to maintain those beads, and the ultimate is big time after that board was used to absolutely no effect.
Yeah, and even though he takes a little bit of damage, Cupid's got heals. He's going to go back to full HP at a moment's notice, so nothing ventured, nothing gained, and something ventured, nothing gained for Dude Man Bros. He's got to wait a minute until that ultimate's back up. Maybe an opportunity over to Itori to look for that 1v1, but again, worth noting that Itori does not normally play the Hunter role, so you're not really looking at him for the Gilded Gladiators to be that proactive playmaker. Instead, hold your own, and so far, he's done a good job of keeping down one of the Eldritch Hound star players, Dude Man Bro, from being too effective.
Well, if we were ever curious where the pressure is going to come out on this map, the question has been answered. Just 8 minutes into this game, it's basically a 3-man stack in the middle lane. We've seen all the aggression around these mid camps in the jungle near the mid lane as well. That was the first real pressure on the left side as Dazer has rotated over. Does pop the Fields of Love, is the Cupid. That's going to connect on 2 members of the Hounds. Life of the party utilized as well. River's Rebuke crashing down and Dazer falling low. Support taking out support there. Itori's now in a bad spot with EruptCrimson making the rotation.
It's an easy kill for Oathhh if he can connect the sickle, and he does. MastkiII whiffs with the ultimate, and that should spell the end of this fight. Unfortunate to the Gilded Gladiators duo lane, just not enough damage output. Everything lands. Life of the party, keeps him inside the Fields of Love. All the damage is there. Dude Man Bro doesn't even use his beads, just face tanks every single auto attack and every single ability, lives through it with the help of his team. Meditation, not even expended, just easy pickups for the Hounds.
MastkiII yanked back in by that Riptide, Strife off the mark. Moonstrike does connect, but the Eldritch Hounds not in position to continue that aggression onto MastkiII. They are forcing this poor Pele, I should say, back again and again and again. It seems like anytime they see MastkiII run around the jungle, they are immediately initiating on this jungler. So far, hasn't put MastkiII too far behind. Level parity, 9-9 with Oathhh. Same thing with items here as the Brawler's Beatstick has come online. That's to combat the insane healing from Quig that's only going to get worse over time.
And the meditation as well. Some of the self-sustain that we'll see from Dude Man Bro. Triple Chalice of healing pickup for the Eldritch Hounds. Anti-heal going to find some value there as well. I can't argue against an early Brawler's Beatstick. But normally we've been seeing the Brawler's Beatstick immediately into an Erendite from the Pele, or sometimes Scream will go towards things like the Soul Eater. And I'm a massive fan of Soul Eater on this god. Feels like once she's got that, she's allowed to be almost like a pseudo tank, a lifesteal tank for your team. For now, MastkiII's going to have to be really choosy about when he goes in.
The Gilded Gladiators from behind here decide to sneak a Gold Fury, and guess what? They're going to successfully do it. The Eldritch Hounds have absolutely no clue this objective is going down. The Glads sneak a Gold Fury from under the noses of the Hounds, and what was a baby gold lead has now been evened up a little bit more, but with that sound ticking off on the map, the Eldritch Hounds say, hey, they're all on the left side. Let's return it here with the Pyromancer. That objective is going to fall to the Eldritch Hounds, so it's a trade 1-for-1 across the map. Neutral objectives go to each of these squads.
And it should drop the lead to about exactly where it was previously, maybe slightly lower. The Eldritch Hounds, I think, probably upset with the pacing of that one, considering they've been winning out handily in the majority of these team fights. But considering you've already built yourself a slight buffer, you're not too concerned about that Gold Fury. MastkiII, I thought, might have had a fight coming his way. Oathhh, though, thinks twice of it and says, there's really nothing to fight over here. We've already got both neutral objectives down on the map. Now's the time for the game to either slow down and just return to macro. Let's start controlling mid camp, start looking toward greater Scorpions. Or, and I think this is probably more likely considering how much I've seen from the Eldritch Hounds, they might just group up and start forcing engagements to try and look at these structures. They've got pretty decent ability, especially around that dual lane with that second ability from Artemis, to start pressuring some of these towers.
Remakami in that right lane is handling lestimics on this Bologna pretty handily. Oathhh has made the rotation as well just to secure this blue buff. Haven't seen too much action thus far in the solo lane, but every time I glance over at the minimap, I notice that Remakami has pushed that Bologna out time and time again, as there's a little bit of aggression. Not too much is going to happen on this left side lane. Both Life of the Party and those large AoE Cupid ultimate, right, that Fields of Love are available, but Quig and Dude Man Bro, we've already talked about it, so much escapability, right? It's not going to be too much pressure on this left-hand side. But to return to my earlier question, we're approaching 12 minutes now. We're starting to sneak into that mid-game. Once this Bologna and this King Arthur begin to rotate more freely across the map, who do you think is going to bring more value to this team, as both the solo laners are relatively even?
Well, it's an interesting question because these two are bringing very different things to the team fight. Look at lestimics' build. It's Berserker Shield immediately into the Ick Veil. He's got great 1v1 up against Dude Man Bro. He might be able to fight up against Oathhh, but in the laning phase itself, lestimics is going to suffer, and clearly he's stuck inside of his tower because with Ick Veil, you're not really getting value against King Arthur. He's not giving you the opportunity to box in. It's, hey, I'm going to walk up to you, drop my entire kit, walk away. You can auto-attack minions and kick dust for all I care. But in the team fight, space control should belong to Arthur.
Yeah, speaking of a team fight, MastkiII is here to take on Dude Man Bro, and it's actually Dazer to take down the ADC as the waves crash down from the Emoji, who's caught between 3 members of the Gilded Gladiators. Luckily, tower to their back, but Life of the Party used to yank in the Emoji. Guess what, though? Erupt and Oathhh are here to continue this fight. Over the top goes the flail onto MastkiII. Oathhh really wants to take out this Pele, but so slippery is the jungler. The apple finally connects onto the Pele and takes him out.
Itori in some trouble in the back line, wishing that golden apple wasn't brought to him. Dazer tries his best to keep him alive, but can't do so much on his own. Now SMITE in no man's land.
SMITE pushing out 2 members of the Eldritch Hounds all by their lonesome. The home sweet
Nice shot.
home, and the fire there from the Baba Yaga combined to take out Quig.
Yeah, I really like what I saw from Quig earlier on in that fight. Places the Riptide immediately after the stun from the ultimate from Bans.Game. Yeah, okay, you got me, but now I'm behind you and my teammates are here. Oathhh just runs through the entirety of the Gilded Gladiators backline. MastkiII wasn't allowed to put any damage out in that fight just the entire time trying to evade. But at the end of the day, the Gilded Gladiators take an engagement where they're not favored. They start the fight properly from deficit and still find small wins on the map. And the Eldritch Hounds, sure, they've extended their lead, but only slightly.
EruptCrimson might be under danger here, but a double strife yoinks in the mid laner and the support for the Gilded Gladiators, immediately dissuading them from continuing their aggression. Erupt just sticking around rather low here, looking for the back. Oathhh is wrapped around the mid, and guess what? Baba Yaga using that escape early means that Dude Man Bro's Boar can connect onto the Baba Yaga. Aegis utilized as well, but it's only a matter of time before Sap finds the grayscale.
Unfortunate for SMITE. Both relics expended there. No beads, no Aegis for 160 seconds. And looking at the timer of the neutral objectives, you're going to want it a little bit sooner than that. 40 seconds of the Gold Fury respawn, and the Eldritch Hounds now, with a pretty significant lead, can probably just force a fight there. Here's a good look at what lestimics can do, though. When he's boxing against either Oathhh or Dude Man Bro, tons of value. He looks at Remakami and ults defensively immediately. That's the duality of this build.
That was just a terrified Bologna right there. Dude Man Bro gets smacked by the Heartborn. A couple more autos. Not quite enough damage there out from Itori on this Cupid to finish it off, but MastkiI's wrapping around the corner, avoids the trap. Blink in, 1, 2, 1. There we go. MastkiII takes out Dude Man Bro, putting another one up for the Gilded Glads.
Just an easy rotation through. Dude Man Bro just passing a little bit too aggressively. Sure, you've got decent matchup into the Cupid, but it's still Cupid. Still does a whole lot of damage. Sure, the ultimate won't really connect, but do you need it all that much when Heart Bomb's doing that much damage, that much CC lockdown? Beads lost for the Artemis could be pretty massive with the neutral objectives as they stand. Now the Gilded Gladiators and the Eldritch Hounds have both got key targets in this next engagement. If we see them grouped up on the Pyro, and it's the Gilded Gladiators aggressing, imagine we see him run down Dude Man Bro. If it's the Eldritch Hounds trying to get aggressive, SMITE's got a massive target on his back.
Well, we saw a brief break in the action there as both the neutral objectives had fallen, and both teams decided to just farm it up a little bit, but now it's popping off all across the map as the Hounds and the Glads want to push the issue here. Sap is a little too forward for their own good here, has to force their way out of the fight. Quig moving up, the Eldritch Hounds looking for the angle to continue the aggression, but not more is going to kick out here with the Oni Fury and the Pyromancer spawning up. It's about that time where you throw down some big boy wards and look for a pick in order to start the objective up.
Both teams in a good position for a fight. Crimson takes a whole lot of damage, but it's Oathhh starting to move his way forward. Dazer takes a little bit of poke, but no overcommitment. When your mid laner's at 50% HP and it comes from one ability rotation, gotta be careful.
And here's that solo laner for the Eldritch Hounds making their way into the fight. The River's Rebuke cuts off Dazer, who has to use that Phantom Shell to get out of dodge. Life of the party isn't going to connect onto anybody, as here comes the Caledonian board. Tusky not bouncing around the fight at all. Sap takes a big chunk of damage from that Unruly Magic, and it's Gold Fury time.
A lot of healing for the Gilded Gladiators, though. Itori can get his teammates back to about 60% HP. Dazer or SMITE. Dazer in combat has a whole lot of healing as well. The Eldritch Hounds, they've separated, but have they won?
Our first big-time fight of the game here, a 5v5 engagement as Remakami is leading the charge, looking for that angle onto the Gilded Gladiators. With Dazer falling low, Sap not looking the healthiest either, and Remakami having so much damage on this King Arthur that's rotated over. Both teams are going to elect to leave this Oni Fury alone, maybe go for the easier objective in this Pyromancer.
Relic Roundup. The Eldritch Hounds have not got much left in the tank. Really just Crimson with that shell and beads. Otherwise, the fight has taken so long that the Gilded Gladiators mid laner's got both his relics back and available. Beads still up for lestimics as well. Could be an opportunity to fight in here. lestimics won't make it easy.
Yeah, the Glads are spread across the map here. Sap is over the wall, utilizing that ability to try to grab the steal. Eldritch Hounds able to pick up the Pyromancer despite the Eagles rally coming out there. So not too much expended on the defense from the Glads, but the Pyro goes to the house.
You know, I'd really thought the Gladiators would just try and regroup on the Gold Fury itself, but instead try and take the fight. They're taking it to mid.
But guess what? MastkiII gets hit with that Apple's forced out of tower after drawing the aggro of the structure. Dazer also forced out of the fight there. So what looked like an initiation there from the Gilded Glads was quickly dissuaded from that golden apple. of Discordia. Oni Fury started up here by the Gilded Gladiators. Half health are most of the Glads. Dazer playing Space Creator here, and that Oni Fury went down so fast.
Yeah, that's going to continue to happen, by the way. Now that we're starting to get a little bit of crit for Itori, with that Atalanta's bow, should be able to start making short work of these neutral objectives. The Eldritch Hounds a little bit slow on the regroup. They pick up the Pyromancer, head back to base, buy their items. That's a lot of time for the Gilded Gladiators to play with, and given the time, they can take down these neutral objectives. So yet again, it's a Gold Fury for Pyromancer trade over to the Gilded Gladiators every single time, cutting that lead slightly from the Eldritch Hounds, keeping it very even as we start to approach that 20-minute mark. Get to the portion of the game where Fire Giant fights are going to become a topic of conversation. That's when you can't go for these trades. One team's grouped up on Fire. You probably just want to be there. Nothing else on the map of equivalent value. So that's where we get to see how this 5-on-5 is going to start to round out. And in the last couple of mini skirmishes we've seen, Remakami creates a whole lot of space. Oathhh been able to get into that backline very easily. Whereas the Gilded Gladiators initiation is, all right, Dazer, you got ultimate. Please pull somebody in. If you do, we'll kill him. If you don't, that's probably just our team fight.
Pressure placed in the mid lane here from the Glads. Life of the party. Yoinks in EruptCrimson follows up quickly by the Cupid ultimate. The apple spreads onto multiple members, but MastkiII in the backline is getting run down by Oathhh. lestimics here to try to provide support, but Oathhh able to pick up the kill on MastkiII before going down themselves. So a 1-for-1 trade. Both teams currently lacking their junglers. Dudeman on the left side is not here to defend this tier 1 tower, as the Gilded Gladiators stack as 4, press into this tier 1 tower with just a sliver of HP. This structure is as good as dead.
And now it's an initiation after the fact. Gilded Gladiators realize it's a 4 versus 3, and they want some more.
lestimics leading the way here as Dazer tanks up this tower, allowing those small archer minions to work their way in. Couple of shots onto the objective, as Remakami has fallen to half HP on this King Arthur, is going to be forced to back. Quig and EruptCrimson looking healthy, so tier 2 tower, no danger there. And like you said, Fire Giant, their only real objective, besides this Greater Scorpion on the Eldritch Hounds side, that is attempted to be stolen away here by the Gilded Glads. It's reset, lestimics able to pick that one up, but with your jungler down, Fire Giant's probably not a threat.
Yeah, MastkiII is going to take a little while to rotate his way over. I think Dudeman Bro identifies that very well. Okay, not really any opportunity to do the fire, so I'll clear out some waves on the left, get a little bit more farm for myself. Surprised to see no sustain in Dudeman Bro's build. Maybe that's coming a little bit later on, or he's going to rely completely on that cowl. That upgrade should be available shortly. Still level disparity between him and Itori. The Gilded Gladiators probably have got superior burn and very similar levels of secure on the objective. I might actually be favoring the European team as of right now in the team fight, in that skirmish on the right-hand side. Even more so if MastkiII can find a kill.
MastkiII burns the blink onto Dudeman Bro, who utilizes the boar for the CC immunity. Boar catches 2 members of the Gilded Gladiators. A great Riptide there from the Emoji. Gets their ADC out of dodge. So a lot expended there from the Gilded Gladiators. But on the same page there, Dudeman Bro utilized that Caledonian boar to get out of dodge. Oathhh forces away the rest of the Gilded Gladiators who rotate to middle lane. Gold Fury not up. Fire Giant, the only objective in play here as both teams reset. Let me ask you a question here real quick, Miffy baby. This Baba Yaga, the stacking queen, right? You usually see that Warlock staff, the Book of Thoth, things like that. Only one stacking item for that Baba Yaga here. Let me get your thoughts on that really quick, as Oathhh is being aggressed upon here by Itori. Heart Bomb is going to land. Stun is going to pop off. Whoa, Oathhh shoots a huge ton of damage there from the Baba Yaga. River's Rebuke utilized by Quig to cut off the team fight.
Quig's locked down a couple. It's Itori now, very deep in the back line. Dudeman Bro credit for the kill, and Remakami's stuck in there.
Chunk of damage slamming down lestimics in that King Arthur ultimate. Home sweet home coming out, but Sap is dropping low to the might of this solo laner. Eldritch Hounds are not following up off of Remakami's engagement. One more shot from the King Arthur is going to take out the mid laner, and Remakami is 1v everybody.
Dazer trying to limp his way out, but Dudeman Bro picks up his second of the team fight. The Gilded Gladiators go deep into the Eldritch Hounds side of the map and a little bit too far and not grouped up enough. The Eldritch Hounds smack them down and now pull out the largest neutral objective on the map. Should go over for free because, well, Remakami's doing what Remakami's been doing, which is just killing people on his own.
And Remakami is not only zoning out the Gilded Gladiators, he's winning this fight, taking out MastkiII, jungler down for the Gilded Gladiators as The FG is finally picked up here by the Eldritch Hounds, which means that EruptCrimson and Remakami could have continued that fight on the lestimics, but why bother when you can pick up a Pyromancer, you buy the items with all the gold you now have freshly in your pocket, and you start to siege down these tier 1s.
Yeah, 6 towers still standing. Gold Fury coming up shortly. Plenty of gold in pocket as is. The Eldritch Hounds have put themselves in a winning position, and their siege potential is incredibly high. We know now that Remakami's got zero respect for literally anyone on the Gilded Gladiators. He could just do just about no wrong on the map. Oathhh has pretty decent structure damage. Now picking up that Executioner's Glyph. Already has a good deal of attack speed as well. Dude Man Bro, standard hunter, plus attack speed stem means that he can really work through these towers. I'm thinking the Eldritch Hounds, they don't necessarily need to take a Phoenix here. They might be capable of it, especially if they can find a couple of picks, namely SMITE yet again, both relics down. Gonna have a massive target on his back. Instead, though, slow play from the Eldritch Hounds, just looking for their fights across the map and maybe a Gold Fury as well.
And Fury online, but Dazer is getting run down here by the jungler from the Eldritch Hounds. So many slows available for Oathhh, but the Gilded Gladiators are here to back up their support. Unruly Magic over the wall takes down Sap and MastkiII to half HP.
My boys, the Eldritch Hounds, got distracted by some kills, chasing out on the right-hand side. SMITE over the wall, but stunned out.
Double Moonstrike there from the Yemoja. Sap forced into that home sweet home. lestimics is out as well. Oathhh having to utilize that Lord of the Afterlife just to get out of dodge. EruptCrimson takes out Sap, so some middle laner on middle laner violence there. And now the Eldritch Hounds with that Fire Giant are going to back. They're going to regen up. And with one member down for the Gilded Gladiators, that has really opened up their siege potential.
But it takes so much of the time from this Fire Giant, doesn't it? Nearly an entire minute dedicated to just, okay, let's go to the Gold Fury. Wait, hold on. I think Oathh's got a kill on the right-hand side. Let's rotate there as well. Had the Eldritch Hounds just grouped up, they'd probably already be done with a couple of these structures. And even in taking out SMITE, picks only really matter if you're looking at the Phoenix, because there really was no hard defense potential from the Gilded Gladiators. Had they taken out the structures, then found their pick, all of a sudden, value's there. Run down a bird. Instead, Tier 1, Tier 2, fall back to the Gold Fury immediately afterward. Only a minute and a half left on this Fire Giant power play. Yeah, I prefer this call much more so. Get rid of the permanent objectives, then go for the temporary ones.
Yeah, this Tier 1 tower on the left-hand side has, what, 200 health, if that left on it. That's going to go down quick. The Tier 2 is the next target. Remakami tanking up a few of the shots that the Eldritch Hounds are going to receive from this objective. And it looks like a Phoenix push. I expected for them to rotate back to the Gold Fury here, but the Eldritch Hounds aren't quite done with this push yet, and that's exactly why. Dude Man Bro has plenty of damage online. lestimics goes in the backline with that Eagles Rally, doesn't catch anybody, is affected by Discordia's Apple, but a big-time Fields of Love is going to pressure out the Hounds.
SMITE left alone yet again. Remakami wants him. Leap out should secure his life. Remakami has shown a propensity to just continually dive. This time, though, seems like his team can pull him away. Dude Man Bro trades his life for the cause, and that's the Phoenix, which falls down. The Gilded Gladiators are just so slow on the rotation in. I think they were probably of like mind with us in the cast. No way they're going for our bird, right? Fire Giant's starting to wear off. They've got so much gold in pocket from already clearing out 4 of these towers. Maybe Gold Fury then back to base. So the Gilded Gladiators say, all right, let's go push out some waves in mid. Maybe go clear out some of these back camps. And they realize, oh, there's 5 guys in our bird. Hold on. No burgers and fries either. Just a dead chicken on the left-hand side. The Eldritch Hounds, they break the base. They put gold in their pocket. And they've done it in great timing as well. Only 10 seconds left on the Fire Giant. I'm thinking they just wait it out, regroup, try and pull the fire on respawn, and the Gilded Gladiators have got a tough question to answer. Are you willing to fight in neutral territory? If you can push out a couple more waves on left, I'd argue yes, because your base defense with this non-standard composition is just a bit weak. You don't have any ways to CC consistently. You want to take this fight in neutral territory, and with the unofficial 6-man being the Fire Giant.
Gilded Gladiators have some questions to answer here, and if you're thinking about fighting into the neutral objective, I mean, we talked early on about initiation, right? We saw lestimics go in with that Eagles Rally on the Phoenix defense there, didn't catch anyone, didn't find too much value from it. Dazer was forced to use the life of the party there just in response to the aggression from the Eldritch Hounds. If you're fighting on that Fire Giant, are the Gilded Gladiators initiating? Are they allowing the Hounds to force their way in? You know, are they fighting a tower? Looks like the Gilded Gladiators don't want to push the pedal to the metal quite yet. They're feeling a little bit vulnerable here, kind of like my first time at a nudist colony. You know, a little bit nervous, a little bit vulnerable, kind of opening up here as the Eldritch Hounds. What's up?
You working on your Type 5 right now? What?
Fire Giant respawns in just a second here, Myth.
I'm going to ask more about that story later, maybe off the air. Remakami on the onslaught forward, realizes that nobody's nearby. Quig going to be that safety net for him, backs him out of there. Gilded Gladiators have a tough fight ahead of him. MastkiII, no ultimate. He's the bulkier DPS.
And Dazer dropping down to just over half HP here is going to be a big time reason he's forced into that life of the party. Doesn't catch anybody, and this Pele ultimate is down as well. Oathhh catches this Pele with no ultimate and is now forcing the jungler for the Gilded Gladiators out of the fight. Luckily, the rest of the Glads are here to shove out the jungler for the Hounds. lestimics is forced to use Eagle's Rally as an escape tool. River's Rebuke doesn't catch anybody, and Itori just dies for absolutely free.
Oathhh in the back line, goes for the double, finds one, but it's Dazer knocked down. Sap 7. Yeah, you thought that tower was here to protect you? Other way around. You're supposed to be protecting it. And against 5, what chance have you got? Double kill to EruptCrimson and a tier 2 tower to boot. Teleport still available for Remakami. Heads back to base. Yeah, his team might need him.
Yeah, maybe not the best call there for MastkiII. I get the idea you want to make a big-time hero play, but against 4 members of the Eldritch Hounds with that Caledonian Boar online, MastkiII finds the grayscale for the next 50 seconds. As why take a right lane Phoenix when you can just go straight for the Gilded Gladiators? Titan EruptCrimson is falling quite low. lestimics in the back line trying to force out the big-time damage from the Eldritch Hounds. But meanwhile, Quig and Oathhh are wailing away on the Glad's Titan. It's not falling as fast as we'd expect as the Hounds are targeting lestimics. They want one more kill and a deicide before taking game number 1.
Hey, I learned exactly one thing from that match that needs to change going into game 2.
Tell me.
Get Remakami on something else.
Probably.
We got to be banning that King Arthur. He was creating infinite space in these team fights. I mean, it just felt like he could do no wrong. Sure, slash line, not as impressive as maybe some of his allies, 6-0, I believe, for EruptCrimson, but that King Arthur was doing literally everything for his team. Maybe put on something that only does like most stuff for his team.
But meanwhile, in the jungle, we saw Oathhh pushing out the backliners of the Gilded Glads over and over and over, almost finding solo kills on their own. And then you think about the Discordia. We saw a couple strifes over the wall that just end unruly magics, and the apples creating so much space. There's a lot to target out in this Eldritch Hounds comp if the Gilded Gladiators want to take it to game 3.
Yeah, I just want to see the Gilded Gladiators get on some like standard Smite stuff. Like play the Baba Yagas, sure, but like put some other standard supports with it. I don't want weirdness across the board. Just get your one flavor pick.
Well, a strong performance from the Hounds, but fireworks abound. Game number 2 coming up very soon. Stick around.
Welcome back, Smite fans. Game number 1 goes to the North Americans. The Eldritch Hounds able to pull this one out over the Gilded Gladiators, but now without at least some fight back from the Gilded Gladiators. Early game, back and forth action between these two teams, but when it ended up coming down to the team fight stage, when it came down to the Phoenix sieging, the tower sieging, and the objective play, unfortunately, Gormizer, for the Gilded Gladiators, it kind of fell apart in that aspect. A lot of what we were talking about on that pregame disc, maybe the lack of CC and Peel, having kind of only one real bar of initiation, really set back the Gilded Gladiators, and the Eldritch Hounds were able to take this first game.
Yeah, it felt like a comp that maybe could have had some counter initiation, but there was a point where I was even, mentioning it to you. I was like, Baba Yaga's played pretty well. I think Pele, we've seen Bologna on the rise lately. Cupid has been solid. Cupid might be like the best thing that they had on their draft. But the other side was King Arthur, Yamoja, Discordia, the Osiris. And even though Artemis is not like the #1 hunter and is going to get picked up, she's a really good counter matchup into the Cupid, like Mifflin had said during the cast, for slow immunity reasons and things like that. So, like, you just got a real good draft if you're the Hounds. And then, even though a little bit early game, maybe there were some bumps in the road, although I think they created just as many bumps in the road for the other team. I think that as time went on, they just got to run the show, and I think their draft played into that hand incredibly well. I think Oathhh was incredibly active on this Osiris, pretty much what I almost always want to see when I see an Osiris get locked in. And then you get an absolutely insane performance, I think, from Crimson, right? Undying throughout that one, 11.5 KDA. Lots of kills. And of course, it's easy to give him credit for that one. Also have to give the shout-out, same one that Miff gave, which is that Remakami on this King Arthur just made way too much space.
Oh, yeah.
And if I'm the Gladiators, that is where I am starting to look almost immediately, is how frustrating that was to deal with and how frustrating it was to have that much space to the point where, I mean, even right here, right? Like, you've just got the King Arthur doing his own thing on the side perfectly fine, and it lets the rest of the team fight in a 4v3 because they have an advantage, and this King Arthur just won't die.
6-0-11 for EruptCrimson on the Discordia, 3-0-6 for Remakami, so undying for the two of those players on the Eldritch Hounds. And I think you, Mifflin, and pretty much anybody watching that can also agree there that, yeah, King Arthur, probably not the pick that the Gladiators want to give up. Sure, you got Cupid, probably the top hunter, definitely a great #1 pick to go towards. But when you're giving up King Arthur and Yamoja and Discordia and Osiris, there's just too many top-tier picks. I mean, when you go down the tier list, every single one of those, aside from maybe the Artemis, kind of slots itself in around like that S-tier category. Like, you got to pick those ones if they're up. And the Gilded Gladiators with maybe some less than S-tier style of characters not able to pull through for game #1.
This ain't your mama's meta. This is the land meta.
And the Eldritch Hounds are running that land
Thanks
meta
for
right
the pity
now.
laugh, by the way.
No.
That was not funny.
Look, I will do my best to at least at the bare minimum give a pity laugh
it.
over when bad jokes, because I make them all the time, and all I hope for is a pity laugh in the same regard. But the Eldritch Hounds, a strong game 1 performance out of the #1 North American SCC team. We'll see if they can keep that ball rolling in game #2. We'll see if the Gilded Gladiators can bounce back in the picks and bans now for game #2. And I'm going to go on a little soapbox real quick, Gore.
Okay.
I think it should be called the bans and the picks, because the bans come first,
You
and then
know,
the picks.
J-Mac, I've cast a lot of Smite. Like, even prior to working here, I had that like 2-year period on Paladins, but even before that, I was doing like SCC and community turn. I've heard that joke so many times.
Really?
It's not. I don't even know if it's a joke at this point. I think
Really?
some people were serious about it. I've heard that a lot.
Am I wrong,
And I
though?
disagree, because
Okay.
bans and picks sound stupid.
It does.
Picks and bans sound
It does.
cool.
Flow-wise, in fact, it does
Yeah.
not sound as good.
And I don't know why. I can't tell you why. It's
It's
just one of those things that, like,
I think
bans
it's-
and picks doesn't
I think it's just because
feel good in your mouth.
I think it's
you
just
know?
because we've said picks and bans so many times, we've just come accustomed to it at this point, where we're just kind
There's
of
got to
going
be a
against the
good, like,
grain.
not an etymology reason. That's history. of
Because when you
words.
think about a
Mouthfeel
PB&J sandwich, a pick, ban, and I don't know what the J in this would be, justification? No, I have no idea where it goes. Bans, though.
I was trying to figure out what the word for mouthfeel is, so that's on me.
Bans
I have a laptop in front of
We
me.
will
First 6.
use this
internet
power
capability.
wisely.
are going to be the same 6, actually, from game #1. It's just flip the side, at least that they're on, and flip the side of which picks go through. The Hounds take Cupid first, and it's the Gladiators with Yamoja King Arthur. So now it comes down to the Hounds. What are they going to pick in place? Last time it was what was it? Bologna was picked up along with Baba Yaga for the Gladiators, but it's not going to be Bologna. It's going to be Xing Chen for the Eldritch Hounds.
I immediately love this better. One, because Xing Chen gives you a lot of initiation options. Gives you a lot of peel options. Gives you a lot of control in the fight options. I think that what the Hounds have done, like you said, top two, Yamoja King Arthur for the Gladiators is maybe one of the strongest front lines you can just draft. And I think that what we just saw, especially for Remakami, with this King Arthur, you can get a lot done there. With the healing from a Yamoja, with the setup from a Yamoja, it's great. But now, outside of the Cupid, Xing Chen can get out of those walls, the Discordia can get out of those walls. They're very controlling around there. You've still got a lot of good CC on your team. A lot of the downsides that the Gladiators had with their draft don't exist in these top three for the Hounds. And so it balances out those top two that they were able to pick up. Now, I still think that is an incredibly formidable front line that the Gladiators have, but it's going to be a lot harder for them to make it work as well as the Hounds just made it work. It will still be incredibly strong.
Baba Yaga continues to poke her head into the midst of some of these drafts. Third pick from the Gladiators, but maybe kind of echoing a little bit what Mifflin said at the very end, kind of in the post-game after game number one, which was, if you want to throw your Baba Yaga, you can have your one flavor pick. You can have your one kind of spicy pick amongst the team, so long as you build the rest of the team maybe a little bit more standard around it. So far, that's what we have seen out of the Gladiators, Yamoja, King Arthur, and Baba to round out the top three, along with Cupid, Xing Chen, Discordia. And then towards the bans, a lot of priority thrown in the jungle when neither of these teams have their jungler yet. Osiris, Nemesis, and Raven so far. One more ban for the Eldritch Hounds. I will say, notably, Gore, we have seen a distinct lack of Erlong Shen, which, when we think over to some of the SPL games of just week 7, week 8, Erlong Shen, Osiris were like the top two to go towards. But I don't think we've seen a single Erlong Shen game just yet.
Yeah, he's been, I think he was banned for a couple, and then otherwise has just kind of been left by the wayside. And I think it's just because, and depending on the matchup, again, where he's going to fit, he wouldn't be a bad pickup here, at least on my eyes. It's that weird balance, it seems, especially like what the Gladiators have done here, you're waiting for that last pick to get your jungler. But it gets to an interesting point because, like you said, with Osiris and Nemesis and Lancelot and Kali and Raven and Set and Daji and technically the Cabrakan, like that's 8 jungle gods already gone. And then whatever the Hounds pick up is going to make it a 9th. To the point where we were talking about it a little bit with the Ravens set yesterday, where it's like, how many bans do you throw at adapting just to see, how deep they can go, and then still let through.
Pele's still
I was going to say things that have been considered like the top meta right now, like Pele, who has been getting locked in regardless of game.
That's still wild to think that we have 7/8 jungle bans, and Pele still makes her way through and has had a very strong performance throughout. That was her first loss in game number 1 of the weekend so far. Cullen locked in alongside there, so you get some solo lane action for the Eldritch Hounds. You got a little giggle there for a moment.
Well, because I remembered the Fine OK interview on Friday.
Oh, budget
where
King
like
Arthur.
I was like, hey, you finally got forced off King Arthur. Like, what was it like for that? And he goes, well, yeah, I just decided to play budget King Arthur. And so it's like that idea, like if you had the performance you just had as Remakami did, and now you're on someone that can do similar things, right? Maybe not the exact same way. You're going to have to change a little bit of your play style, stuff like that. I think he's still going to be pretty effective. But also King Arthur and Cullen's like the solo lane matchup. Like if you look over the last like 3 years, that's really been like just the strength of it is like, okay, cool. Most of the metas have iterated right back to King Arthur and Cullen. No matter where we go, they always just keep coming back.
Coach Alpha 25 was shown on your screen a moment ago, trying to figure out what to do with this final pick. And a Wheelish is going to be the option. 3 good targets that a Wheelish could pull in just by nature of they already have a leap in their kit, Discordia, Xing Chen, Cullen. So you got a couple of immediate targets there. Then Yamoja, just going to be one of the best setups you could ask for. Maybe for an Wheelish. We haven't seen this god very much just to begin with. I think back to players across the history who have gone it. I think Sam for Soccer. I think Layers in the SPL. Adapting when we talk about the SCC. Yeah. So I'm curious as to how it'll go in MastkiII's hands here in Game 2.
It's one that I'm always excited to watch, right? Because I think that you can get a lot of good play. But Wheelish is one of those gods that from behind it feels a little awkward, right? Because you pull them in and they might just solo you if you don't play it right. You can get a lot of good damage out there, and I think that that's something that the Gladiators are going to have to keep up with. I think that, again, really good frontline for them. I think they've got a lot to play off of to make things work in their favor. It's just making sure that they don't fall too far behind. I think the early game last time was pretty comfortable. If they can keep it even around there, maybe a couple less kills for the Hounds, then they'll be in a good spot to keep themselves going. And like you said with the Oathhh here, I actually think they can get hands-on pretty early on.
So early game may be a little bit stronger for the Gladiators, or if they can at least keep that same level, maybe you can bring a bit of a decent fight over to the Eldritch Hounds. Now, team fight of game number 1 for the Gladiators was not overly impressive. You have in Eagles Rally as initiation or Life of the Party.
Yeah.
This time around, taking the initiation that the Eldritch Hounds had, giving it to themselves. How do you feel about the initiation and the kind of team fight presence for the Eldritch Hounds at least score?
I mean, for the Hounds, look, you've got a Xingqian, you've got a Kakala. Your initiation's covered. You can ignore everybody else on that team. You've got what you need. You still have Fields of Love and things like that to fall back on. So if you're the Hounds, you're set for your team fights, which, guess what? Last game you were too. But now if you're the Gladiators, you've got this King Arthur, this Yamoja. That immediately makes things a lot easier for you. King Arthur's really good at just starting a fight for the hell of it. I mean, he'd probably be really good in a bar brawl as well. Like, he just wants to chase people down. But you get that, you get the Yamoja walls, right? So immediately you've got really good initiation. That plus the pull from the Oathhh means to me that there's a lot more. In fact, even ignoring that, the Chiron is one that's really interesting because, like, what was that, 4 weeks ago? He was big in the SPL, and they were using his ult, not for like confirmation on kills or anything. They were using it to start the fight, and so it made things interesting. I think the Gladiators have put themselves in a much more comfortable position for fights.
We'll see if that position is comfortable enough for the Gilded Gladiators to take game number 2. We'll throw it right over to the casters to see if we're going to make it to game 3.
Hey, thanks, gents. The Gilded Gladiators fighting for their tournament lives as we head into game number 2. It's Dimes, it's Miffy, baby, and it is Doug spectating. Still not a fan, huh? We'll get there. We'll get there, man. Well, all right.
I chose my name.
Yeah.
I made it Mifflin.
That's true. And people, okay. Dimes, Mifflin, and Doug with you here as, use your legal government name here. You wanted the Gilded Gladiators to pick up I believe the words you used was more traditional composition, or more conventional composition is maybe what you said.
Both better words than what I used. I'll take it.
They have certainly done that, switching to Dazer on this Yamoja, picking up once again the Baba Yaga in the mid lane, who didn't do poorly last game, right, providing plenty of damage, and this King Arthur has been dominant for the last few weeks, if not longer.
Yeah, the weakness of the previous Gilded Gladiators draft was, sure, they could start fights, but the second the fight started to go south, they had no way to control space. They essentially folded in on themselves. This time around, they've got ways to control space even if the fight starts to go poorly. Lestimics, sure, for the most part, likely will, if the fight goes south, have to die for his team, but he's capable of doing it. That's value. And then you've got things like the Baba Yaga, who could just deal damage while that space is created. You've got things like the Yamoja, who can just lock down entire sections of a lane or entire jungle pass with that ultimate to allow for this snipe damage from the Chiron. I think the Gilded Gladiators have got themselves a much, much better composition this time.
Dang, Itori forced to use those beads early on. That's going to be down for another 160 seconds as pressure over on this right-hand side. Oathhh looking at MastkiII early on, playing this Oathhh. I heard J-Mac mention on the desk, plenty of targets here from the Eldritch Hounds for Oathhh to find value on this ultimate. Not necessarily a god we see all that often anymore in competitive play. What do you think about this upgrade, downgrade, or neutral here from the Glads?
Well, I mean, Oathhh is not exactly standard, but she's got a special place in my heart, man. I like to credit Oathhh to, like, literally every single bit of my competitive success. And so that means I'm intimately familiar. I understand the power curves of this character. And it's really, at level 6, all of a sudden, feather steps and execute. That's what it feels like. That damage output just gets so high. Until then, probably don't want to be getting overly active. That's not to say that her early game is weak, but you just hit this massive strength point post-ultimate.
So let's talk about the Hounds here for a second as Sap falls to low mana, forced back into EruptCrimson. Happy to trade out the auto attacks here, a bit of a mid-lane boxing match. Not much of a downgrade from the Eldritch Hounds, right? Remakami playing the Skakolan, that fine OK called Budget King Arthur, provides a lot of the same utility. Maybe, I mean, lestimics on this King Arthur. King Arthur has all of these abilities to swap a team. Kind of the same thing with the Kokolin, right? You just transform into that rage form, and you get a new set of abilities, a new ultimate, as well as a 2v2 taken over here in the right lane. There's that rage form that I was alluding to as lestimics falls quite low. MastkiII blinking in, doesn't find the knockup. Feather steps over Remakami, who is tanky enough, as you said, that Awilix, not necessarily the most powerful at level 3, but Oathhh takes a huge swath of damage, and Feather step over the tops drops the Kokolin.
Man, Remakami's just trying to play up and make sure that Oathhh is able to work his way out, and that is the unfortunate sacrifice that junglers will just force on their tanks every single time. Hey, I came through to help your lane. Oh, whoops, gank went bad. You're dead. Unfortunate. I'm going to take this wave, though, and that's exactly how it falls out. Just massive damage output from lestimics. King Arthur's CC lockdown, so hard to deal with. Connects the knockup, minion waves there. All you need is one volley of archers, and that's it. That's like 50 damage, and this early on, 50 damage, pretty significant. Unfortunate fall for first blood. Gilded Gladiators off to a much better start.
Yeah, EruptCrimson reprising this this Discordia. Insane the last game, providing both space control and team fights with that apple. Damage as well. Oathhh is falling quite low, taking on their speed buff there in the back. We haven't seen a death to a camp in quite a while. Might be time, check that off your bingo card, right? Die to a camp here in SMITE Summer Masters. But EruptCrimson on this Discordia. Quig hits the Xing Chen, which has been so meta lately, provides a ton of CC. And the Dooman Bro picking up the Cupid in lieu of the Cupid counter of the Artemis.
Yeah, it's a curious lane, right? I would call, not always, but for this specific 2v2, Xing Chen is budget Kabrakan. You want to get hyper-aggressive, you've got the lockdown, but it's not the same double stun Tremor combo with your Cupid that has just been lauded as one of the most aggressive kill lanes in the game. What you do make up for instead is a whole lot of initiation.
Here comes Oathhh in that duo lane. Dazer caught in a bad spot. There is that lightning out of Oathhh, and Dudeman Bro is going to find the final shot onto Dazer, leveling this one 1-1 for both of these SCC squads.
But the early game advantage still should belong to the Gilded Gladiators. It's just first blood versus a standard kill, but regardless, the Eldritch Hounds off a farm on map have been able to close it up just about entirely. The only thing separating them is a bit of experience. It's split 5 ways. It's not even worth the breath that I expended to say it. The Gilded Gladiators, I think, can at least slow down. Previously, I thought their composition would just fall off in the late game. I had hypothesized 25 minutes in, team fight at the Fire Giant, you just take an L immediately afterward because you don't have any way to start the fight. This time around, the Gilded Gladiators have got that, so they can rest a little bit. They don't need to continually force these engagements. In the previous match, the Eldritch Hounds very often just played for the counter engage. The Gilded Gladiators don't need to give it to them.
An engagement here from the Hounds, taking away the Scorpion from the Gladiators, is turned right back around as MastkiII takes out Oathhh. So the greater Scorpion for the Glads does end up going to the Eldritch Hounds, but their jungler falls in return. That can't be worth, right?
No, not even a little bit. Not 1 in 100. All right. Junglers aren't supposed to die. Maybe that's my inherent bias, but yeah, we're the last ones to die in every single engagement. And that's another fight that kind of goes backwards of what we had seen in Game 1. Previously, it was the Gilded Gladiators who were grouping up for those Scorpion steals. This time, it's the Eldritch Hounds, counter-punch immediately off the back of SAP7, playing with some of the most confidence I think I've ever seen from him. This Baba Yaga has leapt in every single time. Haven't seen that leap used defensively just yet. And it's worked out, just catching out all these low HP targets. And I just got to think, again, it ties back into that unfamiliarity with the matchup. Not many people playing Baba Yaga right now. Not many people know how to play against it.
I noticed in the last couple of days of SMITE Masters play, a lot of play around these greater Scorpions. A lot of invades from both SPL and SCC teams, but the biggest difference that I've noticed, even one match at 6 minutes into this second match here, is that these SPL teams, when they invade, as here's going to be a whirlwind of Rage and Steel on to Itori here, who barely escapes on this Centaur, uses Centaurus. Little preemptively, Quig blinking in is going to trigger that death on Itori. Dot damage goes down. MastkiII takes out Oathhh in return, so an ADC for a jungler there who comes out on top.
Even trade. I mean, jungles aren't supposed to die. I'll stick with my guns, but even trade in that small skirmish. My heart goes out to Itori. I really like the usage of Centaurus there, realizing that the ultimate from Oathhh likely would connect with them, and it does. He actually survives with like sub 20 HP. post-Centaurs. Had he early canceled it, likely would have got out of there, but instead wanted to make sure that it was at least a 1-for-1 trade. Cost him his life, though.
Yeah, Remakami's in a bad spot here, about to turn into that rage form, slams down on the jungler in the solo for the Gilded Gladiators. Jumping in is MastkiII, Feather Step over the top, CC immune by Remakami, and meanwhile, Dude Man Bro takes down Dazer on the left-hand side. lestimics does find the final shot onto Remakami, but here comes the rest of the Hounds.
lestimics trying to make his way out of there. Oathhh does not want to commit himself to this fight. Quig, no chase down either. Had to use those leaps just to close gap. So lestimics able to make his way out with relative ease. This King Arthur has already started to impress, and I'm thinking that space control that we're starting to see, even in these slight dives, will continue throughout this match. Crimson, gotta be landing those. You barrel stuffed it.
Yeah,
just put it on him.
Off the mark there with the golden apple. There was a chance there if Dude Man Bro could wrap around with the heart bomb onto Sap, use the dash as a follow-up. EruptCrimson had a shot there. As engaging here is Sap going into that home sweet home on EruptCrimson. Doesn't find the first shot, doesn't find the second shot, finds the third. A couple more shots from this Baba Yaga could spell the end of EruptCrimson's life. Strife. Sap is going to pick it up. That was close there. EruptCrimson almost scraping away just by the skin of their teeth, but Sap is going to find the first kill for their Baba Yaga.
Looked like a frustration play from Crimson there. Whiffs the golden apple, takes the 1v1 on the mid camp, loses out on that, and Sap7 says, oh, word? I've got ultimate and you don't. So here's the difference.
Oathhh taking away this speed buff here, and already more action in the first, not even 10 minutes of this game here than we saw in the majority of the last game, as the last 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes of that first match is when we saw most of the action kick off. Speaking of action, the Gilded Gladiators want to get active on this first Gold Fury of the game. Just approaching 9 minutes here. Dude Man Bro's coming around the corner, has that Cupid ultimate online, so could catch a big-time Gilded Gladiators squad with those Fields of Love. Just the Cupid alone is going to dissuade the Glads from attempting that Gold Fury.
Yeah, Quig nearby as well, so no real opportunity, I think. The Good Gladiators may have been able to take the objective, but it would have been pretty costly. Quig could have gotten to that back line, Blink available, Lockdown 2, as you said, Dude Man Bro, ultimate available as well. So I think when you're playing with the lead, as the Gilded Gladiators have been, well, maybe not a massive lead, momentum to be sure.
There you go.
Don't really want to throw it away on a coin toss objective, so good discipline from the Gilded Gladiators to go ahead and reset that one and wait for a better opportunity.
And with 30 more seconds before the Pyromancer comes online, that opportunity is going to come sooner rather than later, as MastkiII has made their way over to this solo lane, with Remakami falling low once again to the King Arthur. In comes MastkiII, Feather Step over the top. Remakami doesn't even have a chance to lock down the Oathhh before they drop, and here's Dazer just for the extra little bit of healing. Sap is caught between Quig and EruptCrimson into that home sweet home, but low mana.
Sap7 jukes out the Strife. Crimson loses a lot of that damage. Oathhh has to ult to close gap and finish off the kill. Sap7 falls down. Slow rotation from the Gilded Gladiators. They had 3 hovering on that right-hand side. Gotta think maybe Dazer could have got there to help out, but instead, cut your losses. Sap7's he chose this spot for himself, so he could die there alone, and that's exactly how it falls down. But looking at the Golden experience, 6-4, as many kills as there have been minutes in this match, you'd expect the Gilded Gladiators to have a bit more oomph, a bit more gold, a slightly larger lead. But really, it's only a bit of experience here or there. Half a level for MastkiII, Sap7, Dazer about a half level as well. Entire level for lestimics. Otherwise, gold still largely even. Early on experience, definitely the more valuable of the two, but I don't know. Maybe an objective will shore that up.
Dude Man Bro using those Fields of Love to make sure MastkiII can't continue this pressure. Purple buff is going to fall to the Gilded Gladiators jungler. EruptCrimson around the corner to make sure that no more pressure can be placed on Dude Man Bro on this Cupid. And when you think about the map state, I mean, we're at 11 minutes. Despite the high kill total, it's not like there's been many objectives on the map available for the taking, right? Gold Fury, like you said, is a coin toss. You can't really rip that one right off the bat. Still 6 towers online for both of these squads, so you're not going to get any gold off of towers. Pyromancer just recently appearing on the map. So even though the Gilded Gladiators have found these kills, have found opportunities, just nothing to take for them.
Yeah, not too much. Greater Scorpions, I suppose, could be the difference maker, but
sure.
Certainly haven't had too many opportunities for that one either. The majority of the fights erupting either around that mid lane or on that left side of the map. Pyromancer, though, only been on the map for a minute and taken off with extreme prejudice. The Eldritch Hounds strike first and give us our first slight lead as well. Actually, only evening up the match. I'm begging for a lead right now. I'm going to keep saying it until it actually happens.
The Hounds love rotating Dude Man Bro out of their lane early on. Normally you see ADCs farming up. I mean, yesterday and the day before, we saw these ADCs essentially be untouched for most of the game. Then they rotate in for the team fights. But Dude Man Bro, last game on the Artemis, made their way into the middle lane, dropped the boar. The Hounds found a great team fight. Now the Hounds rotate Dude Man Bro over to the Pyromancer at 11 minutes on this Cupid. They take out the objective as well. Do you think it's worthwhile for Dude Man Bro to leave the lane, or is it leaving Itori to their farm for a little bit too long?
Well, it depends on who you're asking. You ask Dude Man Bro, he'll probably tell you no, because it does cost him a good deal of experience. You ask any other of the Eldritch Hounds, and they're saying yes emphatically.
Sure.
Global Golden experience feels very nice, and if you're asking like a coach, they'd also say yes. So I suppose the answer, to keep it short, just yes. Quig goes for the tower dive. Doesn't really have an opportunity, but you at least got the Centaurus off of Itori. So, slight opportunity, as long as this Chiron keeps stepping up aggressively. That said, in the previous match, Eldritch Hounds would have got the Pyromancer. The immediate response from the Gladiators was always that Gold Fury.
Yep.
This time around, no response, so desynced neutral objectives might just favor the Hounds. Once those ultimates are back up, might just see a fight erupt.
And it's not like the Gladiators don't have a great secure as Quig is forced into that whirlwind of Raging Seal. Doesn't find a single target with it. Now 3 members of the Gladiators chasing out Quig. Crimson is here to support. Well, their support out of the mid laner there. A group up. River's Rebuke has been dropped, but Oathhh blinking out of it. Dude Man Bro caught him between 3, but able to get out of dodge. 1 HP. An auto from MastkiII is going to put down the ADC, but meanwhile, the mid laner for the Glads has dropped as well.
MastkiII playing it perfect, making sure Crimson's got no opportunity.
Woo!
Can't use that leap with Gravity Surge available, and there it is. No beads, double kill to MastkiII, and Remakami now the only one still standing. 1 versus 4. Quig in the base. Can the Gilded Gladiators look for a bit more? They keep Itori alive, so your DPS is alive with them. Gold Fury might be under threat.
Yeah, Centaurus is still online for the Centaur as well, so could be used as a secure if necessary, but the Eldritch Hounds aren't going to take the chance here with only their frontliners available. The Gilded Gladiators are going to secure the first Gold Fury of the game, and finally, Mifflin, you get the lead you were looking for.
Finally. It took a while, didn't it? But only 2,000 at this point. 14 minutes in, the longer the game goes, the less gold starts to matter. We're not at that point just yet. But now that you've established a pretty significant lead, even if the Gilded Gladiators drop a pick here or a pick there, the Eldritch Hounds will have to wait for an opportunity to actually close it up. So, desynced objectives I had hypothesized would favor the Eldritch Hounds, assuming that they would be the ones aggressing on the Gold Fury. But instead, it's the Gilded Gladiators that get the more valuable of the two and can fall back towards the Pyromancer on respawn. Play it slow. I don't call for this often. Anyone who's been watching the SPL knows that I love it when it's a mud battle, constant aggression. I think the Gilded Gladiators really would benefit from just leaning back, resting on their laurels and saying, hey, not much to fight over right now. Let's control the neutral farm and wait for this Pyromancer to respawn. Don't take any needless risk on the map. The Eldritch Hounds, on the other hand, they might have to get aggressive. A pick before the Pyro could slow them down, and if the Eldritch Hounds can find that pick and the Pyro, well, they'd get the lead back to a neutral state.
And the Hounds might be looking to do just that. They're crawling their way back here experience-wise. The Gilded Gladiators, for a moment there, as Itori is forced into that Centaurus to combat the Fields of Love from Dude Man Bro. Holy cow, that masterful shot did a whole ton of damage, but here's Quig to protect Dude Man Bro. MastkiII has moved in as well. Quig getting that auto attack off to make sure that the blink can't go off from MastkiII. Whirlwind of Raging Steel utilized as well, but the rest of the Gilded Gladiators have moved in to target the Xing Chen.
Quig caught in the River's Rebuke. Can't use his sleep if MastkiII's nearby, but MastkiII's taking the tower. Has to reset. Now it's Dazer, who seems to have lost the memo. Everyone else disengages. He's between the towers, and now MastkiII has to line up against Oathhh.
Yeah, Gilded Gladiators overstaying their welcome here as MastkiII is the target. Remakami not finding the final shot on the Awilix. Itori throwing out that masterful shot to put a little bit more damage out on the Eldritch Hounds. So all 10 players on this map escape without finding the grayscale, but certainly not unscathed.
Yeah, there's a bit of a relic trade between both teams. Oathhh loses his blink, Shell down for DMB from that 1v1. Otherwise, a couple of offensive relics lost for the Gilded Gladiators, but all 5 beads still available with Pyromancer spawning in sub 20 seconds. I'd like to see the Gladiators now group up, force the fight here. Get on this Pyromancer. Don't let the Eldritch Hounds do it for free. The Gilded Gladiators, they just don't know.
And they're burning this one. The Eldritch Hounds are knocking down this Pyromancer. quickly. Finally, lestimics rotates in here on this King Arthur. Quig is going to not leash the Pyromancer. The Hounds take the Pyromancer for their own. Dazer has moved in here. No River's Rebuke, so no ultimate for the Emoja. That Moonlight Surge is going to be immune out. EruptCrimson sent into the air by the King Arthur and slammed back down.
EruptCrimson on the escape. Only he's got lestimics on him, but that's a King Arthur, and he does a whole lot of damage. Seems like it's an inverse of game one. Remakami has to peel back and try and help out that back line. So it's Pyromancer for 1, Crimson dead for 30. 17.5 minutes in, Fire Giant not exactly a viable option, but what is this tier 1 tower.
Especially with the healing from Emoji, right? You throw that out, you top off MastkiII, you top off Sap on this. Holy smokes, the Eldritch Hounds are able to push off the Gilded Gladiators with just a sliver of HP left on that tower. I certainly thought the tier 1 was going down. Here's Oathhh to dissuade further engagement. River's Rebuke as well used to cut off that fight. MastkiII takes out the jungler for the Eldritch Hounds. Now Remakami's locked in with 3 members. Salmon's lead gets them out of danger, and this tier 1 tower is going down quickly.
lestimics is back. He's got the lockdown for Remakami, but Itori's distracted. He wants Dude Man Bro. Quig looking for the 1v1 up against MastkiII, and will find it with the roar. Massive shutdown, but what's it going to cost to the rest of his team? Dude Man Bro's life, and maybe a bit more. Itori, Aegis just on time, keeps him alive.
EruptCrimson, the only hope there for one more return kill. The Eldritch Hounds do find MastkiII, but no more. Tier 1 tower falls. That's a big swing for the Gilded Gladiators, who are opening their lead up even further here over the Hounds to the tune of just about 3,000.
Yeah, the Eldritch Hounds are taking these fights so split up, and that can work if you're the team with the lead. If you can take individual 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s, and you've got a pretty nice deficit in your favor, awesome. But when you're playing from behind, you need the full brunt and synergy of the entirety of your composition to win out on these fights, and the Gilded Gladiators just aren't allowing those situations. MastkiII does give over a massive bounty, but 7-1-3, I'm not going to take away from the performance from the Gilded Gladiators jungler. Absolutely impressive. He has been diving that backline with clinical precision just every single time. Sticks the Crimson, makes sure that he can't use that leap. Gets into that backline, takes the 1v1 up against Quig as well, sets up for that kill very, very well for his team. But the Gilded Gladiators have got to do more on the map. They are not so far removed from the Eldritch Hounds that this game is out of the realm of realistic comeback. Gold Fury could be that separation they're looking for.
Oni Fury started up here, Sap, utilizing the kit from the Baba Yaga to do damage to it, but it's more of a bait than anything right now. They know DMB, they know Quig are hovering around the corner. On the right-hand side, though, Oathhh and Remakami are combining, so the Gilded Gladiators have this avenue here. Oni Fury being started up, chunked down halfway. Quig forced out by the Gilded Gladiators. Still, Oni Fury down to half. Really just not committing are the Gilded Gladiators.
It's only 3 members of the Hounds here, 2 on the right-hand side. Fury drop low, Gladiators pick it up.
And Quig utilizes that Whirlwind of Rage of Steel to no effect. The River's Rebuke lands down on Dude Man Bro. Quig going back in despite being under half HP. Oathhh on this low health Dazer. Volcanic Lightning it takes out the Emoja. And here comes DNB with that huge Fields of Love. But Itori knocks down Oathhh in return.
Yeah, the Eldritch Hounds have chased out a bit too far, it would seem. 2 for 2 so far, but the objective goes to the Gilded Gladiators. 3 stack from the Eldritch Hounds on that purple buff. MastkiII not making the rotation, actually doesn't even make an appearance in the entirety of that team fight. He was defending his tower on the right-hand side up against both Oathhh and Quig, who make the slow rotation back over towards the team fight and lose their lives. At the end of the day, it's a win, but a small win for the Gilded Gladiators. Gold Fury in 2, 4-2.
Might be turned around here, though. The Tier 1 tower on the left-hand side is being aggressive. Certainly won't shore up what the Eldritch Hounds just lost, but is going to help their coffers a little bit. Just a Tier 1 tower, 21 minutes in. A structure is certainly welcome here for the Eldritch Hounds, and now we're slowing it down a little bit, right? Fury off the table. Pyromancer off the table as well. The only major neutral objective on the map, this Fire Giant. Gilded Gladiators, do they have the opportunity for this Fire Giant in, say, one more fight, a few more, say 5 more minutes? Do you think the burn is there for the Gilded Glads?
Oh, 100%. Gravity Surge, if you were just using it to boost your DPS, especially with a serrated style of build, you really got auto attack damage from your jungler, Itori. Sure, maybe not the most attack speed, but has enough penetration that each one of those auto attacks very valuable. And if Sap 7 is willing to commit the home sweet home just for DPS, the Gilded Gladiators would make very short work of this objective. And I only bring up using your ultimates for DPS for this team because of the space control afforded to them by lestimics and Dazer. If Dazer can get ahead of the Eldritch Hounds and just set up that wall, how do they get through it?
We're in a bad spot here, up in the air from lestimics. River's Rebuke utilized to knock down Quig, and the Gilded Gladiators are utilizing everything on this Jing Chen Whirlwind Rage. Steel doesn't find value. Dude Man Bro picks up MastkiII, so much blown on the support for the Hounds. Sap answers back with a kill onto Oathhh, and here comes Home Sweet Home.
Dude Man Bro may have found a kill, but it might cost him. Shell keeps him alive. Sap7 steps way too far into that tower, takes a whole lot of damage.
Remakami found a 4-man huge knockup there, but is now caught between King Arthur and No Man's Land. The rest of the Eldritch Hounds doing what they can to force out the Gilded Gladiators, but Itori finds the final shot onto Remakami, so it is a 2-for-1 Gilded Gladiators on top.
4 versus 3. Gilded Gladiators still have Itori. It's only MastkiII in trade. Fire Giant, certainly an option, but the longer they take, the more time the Eldritch Hounds have got to resustain. DMB already back to full HP, as is Quig, but Crimson pretty close to
This is not a good look for the Eldritch Hounds. The Gilded Gladiators lurking around the corner for the bait. Baba Yaga
Whiff.
can't put the finishing touches on EruptCrimson. The potion off the mark there from Sap7. Let's just chalk that one up to ping, Mifflin, as Quig moves forward on the Gilded Gladiators. What do you think? That bait, the right call, or start up the Fire Giant / Pyromancer?
I mean, you got to say it's the right call because they have the kill. They have it. You just mechanical difference there would just miss out on one of those abilities. If you find that pick on a Crimson, that's the majority of the team fight loss for the Eldritch Hounds. You desync his death perfectly. Would have been a 5 versus 4. Now, got to try all over again. 5 versus 5 around the Pyromancer.
And Pyromancer is going to go down to the Gilded Gladiators. Question mark. The Glads do secure that objective. Quig yanked in by that Moonlight Surge. River's Rebuke. That combination has been deadly all game long. Sataris ripping through the Eldritch Hounds. Now Dazer caught in between 3 members of this Order Squad. lestimics in the backline playing Space Creator on EruptCrimson. Quig does find Dazer, so a 2-for-1, make that a 3-for-1 so far. The Eldritch Hounds fighting back.
Yeah, Oathhh just goes massive in that team fight. Now it's up to lestimics to buy as much time as possible. He's not surviving this one. 4-for-1 trade for the Eldritch Hounds, already grouped up on the Fire Giant and still healthy. Is it a reset from the Eldritch Hounds? They've got time to play with. Don't necessarily need to pull it out now. But gotta talk about what Oathhh brings to his team there. If Remakami's struggling in Game 2 to create the space, Oathhh has to do it himself with damage. Gets into that back line, drops MastkiII down to 10% HP, does 80% of Sap7's HP bar as well. lestimics doing the most that he can in the back, does control space, but doesn't deal nearly as much damage. And then Oathhh surviving, just the icing on the cake for the Eldritch Hounds. And now with Fire Giant, that entire lead the Gilded Gladiators had established for themselves is lost in one fell swoop, all off the back of one missed ability. If Sap7 connects that potion onto the Crimson, we're talking about how strong the Gladiator Siege is. We're talking about how these towers are going to go down, how the Eldritch Hounds don't really have the best defense up against this composition. Now, it's the inverse. The Eldritch Hounds can start to push their way forward with Fire Giant on 4. Sure, Crimson lacking the buff, but your mage not exactly going to be in a position where she's taking too much damage in the majority of these fights. Instead, it's all about just poking and prodding from a range, allow your ADC to deal the majority of the DPS to the structures, and plenty of structures to DPS. 4 towers still standing, and a Gold Fury to boot. Just watch the Eldritch Hounds slowly work their way across the map. Don't even necessarily need to move in towards one of these birds. Just establish a gold lead and get ready for the next fire.
And man, Miff, that's why I was so looking forward to today. That right there is a great example. That's why I love watching these SCC matches, because Gilded Gladiators have a great grip on this game from minute 0, and one team fight puts the Eldritch Hounds right back in this one. We were looking at a fight back from the Gilded Gladiators to tie this thing up 1-1, and now the Hounds with momentum on their side. The Gilded Gladiators charging forward, taking a tier 2 tower, taking this Phoenix with extreme prejudice. The Eldritch Hounds have absolutely nothing to offer. The Gilded Gladiators
so smart,
surging forward, momentum on their side. I take it all back. The Gilded Gladiators aren't dissuaded at all, taking down EruptCrimson from the Eldritch Hounds. Remakami just escaping those crashing waves from the Yemoja heals. Coming out of Dazer, moving forward is MastkiII onto Oathhh, who gets knocked down by the Awilix. Remakami is here to defend the Titan. Dude Man Bro and Quig Are they going to get back in time? Dudeman Bro drops the Fields of Love.
No value.
Able to push out the Gilded Gladiators from the Titan room at the very least.
Sab 7 now on the retreat. Such smart play from
Wow.
the Gilded Gladiators,
Wow.
realizing the Eldritch Hounds 2-stacked on the push. Dudeman Bro starts his back and cancels it 3 times separately. Eventually, enough threat generated in the throne room that you have to back. You got to get back there or you just lose the game. Whoever's shot calling for the Gilded Gladiators right now, that is a difficult decision to make. You're off by even a little bit of DPS. You don't get one of those kills, and all of a sudden, you've just lost the game. But instead, they create a situation, the Gilded Gladiators, that is, where they have now exposed a win condition. The right side, Phoenix falls in synchrony? What am I looking for?
Synchronicity?
Yeah, thank you. That's good. Yeah, with that, on the other Phoenix on the left-hand side, good stuff, man. That is just such a hard decision to make. Keeps the game dead even as well. The only difference being one of those Phoenix is worth a whole lot more on the next Fire Giant power play. Left side Phoenix for the Gilded Gladiators. The furthest from the Fire Giant, the hardest to defend. The Eldritch Hounds. Right side, yeah, I mean, you're right next to the fire. You can work your way back in there with extreme ease.
Yeah, Two-Man Bro and Quig combining to take out that left side Phoenix means if we see one more team fight from the Eldritch Hounds like we just saw recently at the Fire Giant pit, that Primal Fury is going to fall to the Gilded Glads with no response there from the Hounds. If we see one more killer team fight from either of these squads, that's going to be endgame, right? Why even go for the Fire Giant? Why wait for that to respawn if you can just end the game right here? The Eldritch Hounds shoving forward on this right-hand side the exact same way that the Gilded Gladiators did just a minute or so ago. Tier 2 tower is going to fall in the right-hand lane, but the Eldritch Hounds not pushing their luck, going to retreat, recover, and just take it slow. Slow down a little bit, like what you said a little bit earlier. Take the pace slow, right? They know they're in a precarious position here. They know one botched team fight and it's GG. So you slow it down, you take what structures you can, and you regroup.
Hounds now grouped up on the tier 1 and mid. As long as they can keep up pressure without committing too much, that minion wave on the left side will outpace what the Gilded Gladiators have got for themselves. The longer the fight goes, the less time the Gladiators have to reset themselves, push out that left side lane. Fire Giant very quickly going to respawn about a minute out from that one happening. I'm keeping my eyes on the Gladiators. Someone's likely got to go deal with that. Teleport not upgraded just yet for lestimics, even though he is the one to head back to base, does finally pick up that heroic teleport. So he can clear out these waves and make his way to the team fight. But that trade-off is massive. Sure, global presence with teleport, but you've just lost the bulk of your front line. lestimics was starting every single engagement for the Gilded Gladiators, creating that space, making sure that when Oathhh and Remakami are diving that backline, Crimson couldn't follow up with DPS. If he's relegated to minion duty for the start of this Fire Giant fight, the Gilded Gladiators are going to have to play it very, very carefully. A counterpunch style. Don't start the engagement yourself. Instead, wait for the Eldritch Hounds to be the aggressor and pull the Fire Giant. Never a great position to be put in where you're completely contingent on what the enemy is doing first, but I think the only decision available to the Gladiators, so long as they haven't got global presence. And they haven't, so lestimics has to be the one here. Deep wards, though, by the Chaos team means that if the Eldritch Hounds do start up the fire, maybe we see lestimics just teleport into that backline, and he's already established that positioning.
We crest over 30 minutes here, so the Enhanced Fire Giant crashing back down on the map, and we are...
already TPs.
To your delight, I'm sure, we are as dead even as you can get here. Oathhh and MastkiII 1v1ing in the middle lane here. Oathhh utilizes that blink, so that's going to be down for the next couple of minutes here. Looking at Quig here. Looking at Quig with his blink, the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, or looking for the Gilded Gladiators to engage. And a great re-engagement from the Eldritch Hounds here. This next team fight is going to determine whether the Gilded Gladiators fight back into a game number 3 or the Eldritch Hounds eliminate their competition from SMITE Summer Masters. Dazer falling low, has heals on that Yemoja though. Fire Giant dance beginning now.
That enhanced minion wave on the left has got me nervous. Should be able to work through this wave and the next one. Wonder if it's strong enough to actually take out the Phoenix on its own. Gilded Gladiators not showing a whole lot of respect towards it. Doesn't seem like they're too pressed for time, not forcing the engagement. Nobody headed back to base. Seems they're confident that their minion's going to deal with it. Instead, Dazer, dropped about 50%, will be the one to head back. If he shows presence on this left-hand side, I mean, that's the go button for the Hounds.
Strike off the mark, but the go button has already been pressed. The apple lands on the Centaur. Itori forced out of the fight. Remakami leading the charge here onto lestimics. The King Arthur knocks up the Cucullin, but slams right back down in the middle of the Eldritch Hounds. Dudeman Bro using those huge auto attacks from the Cupid on lestimics, who's gonna drop down in this fight. Itori returns it on to Dudeman Bro. So a massive source of damage from the Eldritch Hounds now wiped out of this fight. Oathhh once again in the back line, taking out Itori, but trades their life as Sap puts down the jungler.
Quig, Crimson, both on the retreat. MastkiII leaps in. He's got the damage and the lockdown. Nice Riptide from Dazer will keep him in place. And now Quig, can you make it out alive? With the help of Remakami, maybe. Double kill over to SMITE. Only one still standing.
MastkiII finds number 9, looking for number 10 here on Remakami. SMITE, MastkiII, and Dazer chasing down the solo laner here for the Eldritch Hounds. Who's going to pick up the final auto? SMITE finds the triple kill. What do you think here, Mifflin? Fire Giant or run it down right lane and take this to a game 3?
20 seconds on Dudeman Bro. No shot you could take out that right side Phoenix. If Phoenix were down already, maybe you panic end in a situation like this, but it's got to be the enhanced Fire Giant. Based on timing on their own respawns, the Gilded Gladiators should have the enhanced FG on all 5. Eldritch Hounds just getting split up in that engagement. Yet again, Oathhh dives into that back line, takes the 1v1 up against Itori. Joke's on you, not a 1v1. Shell comes through from Dazer. Keeps him alive just long enough to return that damage. lestimics impresses me a whole lot in that fight as well. Not often 4 people can stare at you for 30 seconds and you still draw a breath at the end of it, and even return a stun into DMB to set up for the kill from the Chiron. So the Gilded Gladiators from the brink make a difficult decision. Who's going to defend the base? Nobody. Lose the Phoenix? Who cares if you get EFG? Just push it down yourself. Doesn't matter if it's the hardest to defend around the Fire Giant. The Fire Giant's already dead.
So now if you're the Eldritch Hounds, you're thinking base defense, right? You're thinking fighting under Phoenix, fighting under Titan if necessary. If you are the Eldritch Hounds, are you initiating or are you re-initiating? Are you finding the return initiation under this Phoenix, or are you just pushing the pedal here, not even waiting for a Phoenix siege, but just taking it to the Gilded Gladiators?
I like the call from the Hounds to make this aggressive play if the Gladiators were missing out on more of their defensive relics. When I'm looking at it, only one set of beads down on Itori. This guy, you got to be careful here. SMITE's a little far, though.
But it's going to move in time. Remakami surging forward here. Riptide dissuades Remakami from going in. Gravity Surge pulls the solo laner into 3 members and drop down to half. Is Remakami no escape either. Oathhh takes out Itori in the backline. What a great pick early on. EruptCrimson kills MastkiII, the major damage source for the Gilded Gladiators. Up in the air is lestimics in that whirlwind of Rage and Steel, knocked back into the Hounds and falls to EruptCrimson for a double kill. What a turnaround.
Poor pull for MastkiII. Yeah, you don't want to Gravity Surge the Cucullin. All you're doing is setting up for him. Remakami, though, taking a good deal of damage. That's slow, finding some value, but only 2 people here. SMITE's going to have to do a whole lot of work if he wants to keep Dazer alive.
DMB ain't done with this one, and neither is Quig, but just forcing out Dazer and Sap is the support for the Eldritch Hounds. Shoving down left lane here. Phoenix offline for the Gilded Gladiators. This is an end call, Mifflin.
20 seconds left on the nearest respawn. Eldritch Hounds have not got a minion wave nearby. They're going to have to tank up the Titan and the DPS from SMITE. Crimson drop low.
Crimson is so low. Quig is going straight for the Titan. Remakami at half HP against the massive damage from SMITE. Apple down. Dazer falls. DMB on the Titan. Here's SMITE takes down Quig. And the Eldritch Hounds out of nowhere find the 2-0.
It's so tough for the Gilded Gladiators, right? I mean, just individual plays that could completely change this game. If it's not a pull on the Cucullin, that team fight probably looks a little bit better. If SMITE lands that mighty potion heard round the world in the tier 2 tower on the right-hand side, this game probably goes to game 3. Instead, though, clean play from the Eldritch Hounds, keeping their head in there against the odds. You're in a really poor position, still able to bring it back and find a win against what really was difficult timing. I mean, Itori's on the respawn, Golden Apple blocked. Just small micro plays really could have changed the outcome.
The Gilded Gladiators, dude. I mean, taking it to the Kings, the #1 team in the SPL. Gilded Gladiators hanging in there with the Camelot Kings, and now almost finding a Game 2 victory over the #1 seeded in a SEC. You got to give props to the Gilded Gladiators for fighting their hearts out here at SMITE Summer Masters.
Yeah, I mean, every single time these guys come out to events, we get the opportunity to speak with them. They are passionate about this game. You talk to their coach, this is a grand project. Every single month, we're getting better and better. We're never going to break up. We're going to stick together and improve as a unit. And every single time I see them, these guys look better, but they can't quite find those dubs.
Well, that was a pleasure to cast, but I know the guys at the desk are chomping at the bit to break this one down. Let's toss it to them and see what they think.
Yeah, thank you so much. The Eldritch Hounds, at least in their SCC matchups, continue to remain undefeated against their counterparts here, but the European region does fall down. Gilded Gladiators not able to hold it out, and they really did get themselves a pretty nice lead early on in this game, Gore. Much better team fight, much better play around these objectives, but then just a couple of small little missteps, a couple of oversteps. You sticked around it for a team fight a little bit too long, and you end up losing a couple of your carries. You stick around a Fire Giant a little bit too long, and now all of a sudden we have the Eldritch Hounds who are being able to get that pushback, who are able to find that fight. And going back to the fight over in solo lane, I mean, earlier on, Quig whiffs a big ultimate, doesn't get anybody, and I'm sitting there in the room like, surely somebody's got to punish the Hounds, and the Gilded Gladiators do. They make a great play to even push out that right side Phoenix at the same time the left is going. But then that fight in the duo lane, it just, in the middle of the lane, kind of out of nowhere, just goes down.
And what I really like is how the Hounds play that one, just because, like, there are a lot of moments, and, you know, Mifflin mentions it, like, this, so this fight right here was one that was massive for them, but it was really the fight, and I think the breaking point was opening up that left side Phoenix, right? They lose their right side Phoenix for it, but they don't lose the Titan there. Dude Man Pro lives through that engagement, so you have a Cupid to kind of retain and defend, things like that. Then you go up, and even though you don't get a Fire Giant, you set up a play where you're going to find success, right? And I think that's the honestly just good for them, right? Like, I mean, that's a really good start to put it, is like, you know what, if we fight in the Titan room, they're just going to win. If we fight at the Phoenix line, maybe, but what's going to stop them from just running past us to the Titan room and forcing it to be an awkward fight? So let's just take a fight to them in the middle of the damn map and win it while we can. I mean, the damage here was insane, the control. The first 2 kills go down, and I'm thinking, okay, they've bought themselves time, right? That's what that play is if they only get the 2. Then the third happens, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Like, this becomes a little spicier. Like, there's a little more you can do here. And then they just have the complete wherewithal to run it down. I think that last play was definitely the one where it was the big turnaround, the big flex for them to move forward. And it was fun to watch.
I got to give props over to Remakami, though. I mean, my man was kind of getting camped in the solo lane for a while. It went down 0-4 at one point, ends out 2-6-11, second highest farm in his game as far as the gold is concerned out there. Really able to make a bounce back. And I think it was a point that Mifflin even made during there, is if Remakami is the one who is getting focused out, if he can't get into that backline, get that initiation, then it's Oathhh who's got to be the one who steps up. And Oathhh is able to that first team. Quig is able to get in there and find some beautiful ultimates at the end of that game. Crimson spreading out that damage consistently on that golden apple allowed Remakami to be able to get that power back online. You see that Remakami, despite the fact that he was beaten down pretty brutally to start out the entirety of that game, ends up finishing top damage for his team.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's been fun to watch as well, because it was one of those things where, like you said, early on, it's this, you're sitting around, you're like, oh, this is looking like it's going to go 3. It was a really good fight from the Gladiators, and by really good fight by the Gladiators, followed by really good fight by the Gladiators, and it just feels like, you know, whether it's the King Arthur, whether it's the emoji, a lot early on that is giving them that pressure to kind of exude just on the map, right? And they're finding more map control. And then, like you mentioned it, Cullen gets a little more online. Finds, you know, over in the duo lane, I remember a 4-man knock-up that allows the team to surge forward. And does it cost him his life? Absolutely. But does it get something done? Yes. And that's something, again, where the Hounds made a lot of plays like that, where it's like, you know what? Someone's going to have to sacrifice something, but we're going to win the fight because of it.
The Eldritch Hounds find themselves a 2-0 victory. And before we continue to break down and close out this set, we do have Quig and Crimson standing by for our post-game interview.
What up, boys? Excited to hear from you guys. That one was a nail-biter of a set. I don't know. I was looking at the chat when I walked off the cast, and I saw the word lucky tossed around. How's that hit your guys' ear?
I don't know. I mean, probably true. I don't know. Like, my disco ult, I don't even know where it bounced off of.
Oh, that bounce was wild.
I don't know where it bounced off of. I know I threw like 10 of them and missed, but like 2 of them like bounced off walls and just like randomly hit people. I think I hit them for like 1,000 too. So yeah, I mean, pretty fair.
What do you think, Quig?
Yeah, that was all skill, I think, yeah.
All skill, 100%.
Yeah.
Do you have any words for your European counterparts here? Were you impressed by their play at all?
Honestly, like, we were coming into this, like, thinking it was going to be free, but, you know, they made us work for that. That MastkiII guy was kind of a beast. Yeah. They locked into Wheelix. We were laughing at it. We were like, whoa, what is this? So Wheelix into Disco Cupid, and he kind of showed us.
We were kind of talking trash on the Wheelix before the game, and then we actually kind of called it. We're like, yeah, he's going to own us now because of that, and he did. So.
All right, and how's it feel to see the SEC finally get a win? Sure, against SEC, but a dub's a dub.
Yeah, that's big for the SEC. We'll take that.
2-16. Or no, I guess 2-18 because they got 2 losses.
Oh, man. Yeah, win-loss, maybe not super impressive, but a win is a win. We'll get it back to the desk to break it down. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Crimson and Quig for the post-game interview. And I think they said it best. You know, we saw this pick on, we're like, oh, what's this wheelish guy do? Surely it's not going to do anything. And, well, sometimes when you talk smack, you get smacked a couple of times. Though, able to pull it back, at least at the very end of the game there. So the Eldritch Hounds, the #1 NASCC team, have now eliminated the first team of the tournament. And that's probably the biggest thing that's going to be harped on throughout the remainder of today is all 4 of our sets today are going to be sending one team home, one SCC representative. He's going to be going out in each of these matchups through, and then tomorrow we'll go into the winner side of the bracket with the SPL teams, where they'll then send the loser of that to face their respective winners in each of those ones. We can at least take a nice look at the brackets, take a look at the schedule, see what all is going to happen for the rest of the day, and kind of a look ahead in the brackets for these matchups. This is a tough match and a tough bracket in general, just for the Eldritch Hounds. They got probably, I don't want to say the easier of the 2 matches, but if we're going seeding-wise, they got the #8 SPL versus the #1 that they had to play against first.
Yep.
They fell 0-2 to the Valkyries. Same thing with Gladiators. They fell 0-2 to the Camelot Kings. Look good in that set, at least for the Gladiators, look good in this set. So the Eldritch Hounds will have to face now the loser of the Valkyries or the Kings. So do they get their rematch against the Valks and maybe try and get that last chance, that last-ditch effort to get back into the second week of play? Or they have to face the Camelot Kings and see how they fare compared to the Gladiators did.
Well, and you know, it's actually interesting because at this point, the good news is that you've now got 2 sets under your belt, right? So you'll be going into your 3rd set of Smite if you're the Hounds. You'll feel a little more confident about it, no matter who you're facing. I will be honest. I think that matchup, turn off player names. You just see gods on the other side. You just play the game to the best of your ability. It's going to be interesting, especially considering the style of play that we see out of the Kings and the Valkyries. I'm excited to watch them play each other tomorrow, but I'm really excited to see which of them then loses and plays the Hounds.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough bracket for really all of the SCC teams going up against the SPL teams. As I said, it's only our first of 4 sets today. It's 4 sets every single day this week, Wednesday through Sunday. The Eldritch Hounds, the first ones to find themselves a 2-0. So 2-0s continue to go through 9 sets, and all of them without a single game drop to another team. It's only been those 2-0s. But next up will be Shabalba Storm, the #4 NA team, up against Hex Mambo, the #1 EU team. So now we're going to see how the coin kind of looks on the other side here. We saw #1 out of NA. Now we get to see #1 out of EU. Then after that, Athenian Sages, Highland Ravens, and Callan Wardens, Aru Scorpions. I think those 2. And I may have written off the Gladiators a little bit into this one. I was like, okay, this one will probably be a pretty quick 2-0 kind of between both of these, top ones. But I think that 3rd and 4th match of the day, where it's the #2 and 3 of each region, is where we're really going to see some of those big, close battles.
Honestly, and I think it's something like the Storm, even though they didn't seed that well into the tournament, and yesterday when they played against the Bolts, or 2 days ago when they played against the Bolts, it didn't look quite as strong as maybe we come to expect out of that team. I still have a lot riding on them, because I think those guys kind of surprised us during the play-in earlier this year. They surprised us last year. I think they surprised us in Masters 1. Maybe not to the extent that the Hounds did, eliminating an SPL team like the Scarabs, but I think to an extent where I don't know, like you said, it's a 1 versus 4, so seeding-wise maybe doesn't scream impressive, but I think that the play on field, or at least the players on field, make it a little more interesting.
It should be a fun set, and a fun set throughout the entirety of the day, but that's set game #1 done. We're going to be jumping over to Shabalba Storm versus Hex Mambo right after this break.